All right. That's a good time for us to begin again.
Pravi čas je, da začnemo ponovno.
Again, there are many videos on YouTube.
Na YouTubeu lahko pogledate, v primeru, da razumete angleško, veliko materijala.
So if you're interested and you understand English and you're interested in learning more,
Če bi zvedeli več,
right, then there's lots that you can look at.
veliko tega boste našli tam, torej vtipkate New Paradigm Ministries na YouTubeu in boste našli stran.
Right. And currently we also do one-on-one counseling with individuals.
Mi tudi delamo svetovanje.
And all of that can be scheduled through the website.
To se vse lahko dogovorimo na tej strani.
But right now we only have English, Spanish, Dutch,
Very useful.
and German.
Dobro, če govorite nemško, nizozemsko, špansko ali angleško, se lahko dogovorite tudi vi za svetovanje.
Right.
Po Zoomu verjetno.
Right. But you know, if you can speak one of those languages and you need to counsel with somebody,
Če bi to bilo primer, lahko bi našli možnost.
then you can go to the website.
To vpišete
There's a section called consultation,
in tam boste videli konzultacije, piše,
and you
consultation.
can schedule there.
In tam se lahko prijavite.
There's no fee for anything.
Brezplačno je.
Right. If people want to donate, they can.
Če kdo hoče kaj donirati, lahko.
Right. But we don't have a fee for services.
Mi nismo določili nobene cene za to, je volontersko.
We just want to help people to freedom.
Želeli bi pomagati ljudem do svobode.
And let's see, that YouTube channel. Yeah, I think that's all.
Po moje je to vse.
All right, so we're looking at health,
Zdaj se spet koncentriramo na zdravje.
and we're gonna circle back around to physical health
Smo naredili krog in zdaj se vračamo na telesno zdravje.
because we began there on Monday,
Ker smo tam začeli v ponedeljek
and then we've taken a long journey
in smo naredili dolgo pot
in a bunch of other different areas.
in se dotaknili več različnih stvari.
So now we need to tie the ends together,
Zdaj bi morali povezati začetek in konec.
right? And you know, as a medical doctor, I've taken care of patients in the hospital,
Še enkrat povem, da sem kot zdravnik skrbel za paciente v bolnici,
in a clinic,
v ambulanti
in a lifestyle center,
in v središčih za način pouk o načinu življenja.
right? In a ministry setting,
Ja, tudi kot zdravnik misionar.
right? And in counseling,
Svetovanje, prav tako.
right? So a lot of different areas.
Več različnih področij je bilo.
And so we wanna start pulling these back together.
Zdaj bi radi to združili, vsa ta področja združili v eno.
Now, there's a statement that comes from the 1905.
Obstaja ena izjava, ki je bila zapisana 1905. leta.
And it's a pretty profound statement.
Zelo globoka misel je pravzaprav.
And it says this:
In pravi, bolezen je prizadevanje narave, da telo osvobodi stanja, ki je posledica kršitve zdravstvenih zakonov.
right. And so here we see that disease
Tukaj razumemo, da je bolezen
is the effect.
posledica,
It comes because there are certain conditions in the system
pojavi se, če je telo izpostavljeno različnim pogojem.
and the conditions are there because certain laws of health have been broken.
Pogoji so postali tako, ker smo prekršili nekatere zdravstvene naravne zakone.
All right. Now, let me ask the question.
Naj vam zastavim vprašanje.
Can this podium violate the laws that govern its function?
Ali ta, kako? Dobro. Ali ta predmet lahko prekrši zakon, ki mu je pomagal pri obstoju, ki določa njegov obstoj?
No, it doesn't have the capacity.
Nima možnosti kršiti zakonov.
Right? Can the wall violate the laws that govern its function?
Ali zid prekrši zakon, ki določa njegovo delovanje?
No.
Ne.
Can the computer violate the laws that govern its function?
Ali računalnik prekrši zakon, ki določa, kako bo deloval?
No. No. Anything that is simply composed of chemicals,
Nekaj, kar sestavljajo samo kemikalije,
all of the chemicals follow the laws that govern their function.
torej kemikalije, ki sestavljajo predmete, upoštevajo naravne zakone.
Right? And so, if there's going to be any violation of natural law or laws of health,
Če je kakšen prekršek naravnih zakonov,
that violation is not going to come from chemistry.
to ne bo zagrešila nobena kemija.
Right? You and I also have a spirit.
Mi imamo tudi duha,
We have a mind. Right? And the violation of law is not going to come from the body.
Prekrški naravnih zakonov ne bodo prišli iz telesa.
The violation of law is going to come from the mind.
Te bo zagrešil
Now the body becomes involved in it,
Telo sodeluje pri tem,
right? And it does then
Je vključeno.
impacts the chemicals.
in to vpliva na kemikalije.
It impacts the function,
In delovanje prizadene.
right? But violation of law can only come from the mind.
Ampak prekrški lahko pridejo samo iz uma.
So, in the case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained.
V primeru bolezni je treba ugotoviti vzrok.
Now, also a statement from the late 1800s,
Iz poznega 19. stoletja je tudi ta izjava.
but the research today shows that it's very true.
Današnje raziskave so pokazale, da je to zelo resnična izjava. Duševne bolezni prevladujejo povsod. 9 od 10 bolezni, za katerimi trpijo ljudje, ima svoj izvor v umu.
Right. So we find that, about 90% of the time,
Skoraj 90 oziroma okoli 90% primerov bolezni
the cause for the diseases that we suffer
je vzrok za bolezni, za katerimi trpimo,
is found in the mind,
je v umu.
right? Has its origin there,
Tam se začne.
right? And if that's the case,
Če je temu tako,
and in fact, a recent study put out in the Journal of Family Practice
neka nedavna nek članek can you repeat
in the Journal of Family Practice
Da.
or Family Medicine,
revija o družinski medicini je izdala en članek nedavno,
right? Showed that, and according to their studies, about 88% of people that saw their primary care physician
torej izsledek te raziskave je, da 88% ljudi, ki so poiskali pomoč pri njih,
their condition had a psychosomatic component.
Njihovo stanje je imelo psihosomatsko komponento.
Right. So if 90% of the time
Če 90% bolezni
you're going to find the cause in the mind,
najdete vzrok bolezni v umu,
then it makes sense that if somebody has disease,
potem je smiselno, da če kdo boleha,
you aim for the target,
da želite zadeti cilj.
right? If 90% of the time you're going to find the cause here,
Če boste 90% krat našli vzrok tam,
aim for the target.
potem se usmerite na to.
Sure, there's 10% out here,
Seveda 10% ne spada v to kategorijo,
right? But it makes sense to me
ampak meni se zdi smiselno
to spend 90% of your effort and time on the 90%
vložiti 90% časa in naporov v to.
and 10% of your time and effort on the 10%,
In 10% na tistih zadnjih 10.
right? But our healthcare systems have it backwards,
Ampak naš zdravstveni sistem ima pravzaprav narobno delovanje.
and they spend the vast majority of their time and resources on the 10%,
Največ časa in financ porabi na tistih 10%.
and very little time and effort on the 90%.
In zelo malo časa in naporov vloži v 90% primerov.
Right, so don't be surprised if that system does not function well,
Naj vas ne preseneti torej, če ta sistem ne funkcionira prav.
because by the way that it functions, it cannot.
Ker če deluje tako, potem ne more imeti uspeha.
Right, and that's not to blame anybody who's involved in that system,
S tem jaz nočem obtožiti kogarkoli, ki sodeluje v tem sistemu.
because there are very sincere and caring individuals in the healthcare system.
V sistemu zdravstvene oskrbe je veliko zelo iskrenih, dobrohotnih ljudi.
That are interested in helping people as best as they can,
Oni bi radi pomagali človeku po najboljših močeh.
but their education
Ampak njihova izobrazba
and the system,
in sistem sam
they're broken.
sta napačna.
Right, and so we see the effects of that.
In potem se pokažejo posledice.
Right, and so with the mind
Kar se tiče uma,
and the mind controlling the body,
ta nadzoruje telo.
the mind needs truth.
Potrebuje resnico.
Right, the information put together in the correct order.
Podatki, ki so zloženi v pravem zaporedju.
And when the information that the mind is feeding on is in the correct order,
Če torej dobi informacije, ki so v pravem razporedu,
then the mind can control the functions of the body the way that it's supposed to,
tudi nadzoruje telo na pravi način.
and there can be proper function.
In to rezultira s pravilno funkcijo.
Right, but of course that also you need to have the proper nutrition.
Jasno je, da morate imeti pravilno prehrano,
Right, you have to have the proper blueprints as well.
in tudi pravi načrt, po katerem živite.
Right, and so on. Right,
Misli se na genetiko zdaj.
and but if it's error or lies that the mind is feeding on,
Če se hrani z lažmi, z motami,
then that is going to be also transmitted to the body,
to bo tudi doseglo telo.
and the result of it is going to be dysfunction.
In posledica tega bo napačno delovanje.
Right, and so when it comes to the mind and sickness,
Ko govorimo o umu in bolezni,
it helps to remember that no one else's mind can create disease in your body.
dobro je vedeti, da nikogaršnje misli ne morejo povzročiti bolezen v vašem telesu.
It's only your own mind that can create disease in your own body.
Le vaš bo ustvaril bolezen v vas.
Right, and whatever someone else thinks can only affect their own health, not yours.
Misli nekoga drugega bodo vplivale na njihovo zdravje, ne na vaše.
Unless you take their thoughts and you make them your thoughts.
Razen če sprejmete njihove misli kot svoje,
Then those thoughts can affect you.
potem bodo iste misli vplivale tudi na vas.
So you can't blame others for your disease,
Ne morete drugih obtožiti za svojo bolezen,
but you never create the disease on purpose.
ampak nikoli ne boste imeli bolezni nalašč.
Right? Now there's a few people out there,
So nekateri,
and
malo jih je,
there's a condition where people will purposefully or consciously injure themselves or do things so that they can get attention in the healthcare system.
So ljudje, ki se poškodujejo in izzovejo stanja pri sebi, da bi pritegnili pozornost ponudnikov zdravstvene oskrbe.
And even though they might be conscious of what they're doing,
In čeprav se zavedajo tega, kar počnejo,
they're still captive.
so kljub temu zaporniki v nekem smislu.
They're captive to the delusion
Ujetniki. Prav te napačne predstave,
that's driving them to do that.
ki jih žene, da bi to počeli.
Right? So people don't create disease in their body because they want to.
Ljudje ne obolevajo oziroma ne ustvarjajo, njihov ne ustvarja bolezni zato, ker tako hočejo.
It's not conscious.
To ni zavestno.
It's something that you can't help at the moment.
Vi tega ne morete nadzorovati v tem trenutku.
Right? It's because of the nature that we were born with,
Zaradi narave, s katero smo se rodili.
but it's also true that nobody else can do it to you.
Ampak je tudi res, da nihče drug ne more tega narediti vam.
You can only do it to yourself,
Samo sami ste odgovorni za svoje stanje.
or like in the case of Job,
Kakor v primeru Joba,
where the enemy had permission to do certain things to him.
ker je sovražnik dobil dovoljenje, da nekaj povzroči temu človeku.
Right? So there's no blame for having disease,
Zato ni obsodbe, ni krivde, če zbolimo.
and we shouldn't put anybody under blame or guilt for having disease,
Nikogar ne smemo obtoževati, da je zbolel.
because they're not in control of it, really.
Ker dejansko oni ne nadzorujejo tega sami.
There's the delusion that's driving it.
Gre za to napačno predstavo, utvaro, v kateri živijo.
Now, why does disease end up affecting certain organs or certain parts of the body?
Zakaj bolezni prizadanejo nekatere organe ali nekatere sisteme v telesu?
Well, I can't say that I have a really great answer to that,
Ne morem reči, da imam res čudovit odgovor na to vprašanje.
but an analogy that helps me
Primerjava, ki mi pomaga,
is that the brain is like the piano,
da so možgani kot piano.
yeah,
Klavir, ja.
and the spirit is like the piano player,
In duh je tisti, ki igra na klavir.
and the thoughts are like the music that comes.
Misli so kakor glasba, ki se sliši.
If you have a piano player but no piano, there's no music.
Če imate nekoga, ki bi igral, pa nima inštrumenta, ne bom glasbe.
And if you have the piano but not the piano player, there's no music,
Če imate klavir, ampak nihče ne more na njega igrati, ni glasbe.
right? And it's possible that the spirit, through the nervous system,
Možno je, da duh s pomočjo živčnega sistema
can determine where the signal ends up
določa, kam signal gre.
by choosing where it goes into the nervous system.
Ker določa, kje bo prišlo v živčni sistem.
Right? So, so you have the spirit playing the brain,
To je zdaj nekdo, duh, ta podoba predstavlja nekoga, ki igra na inštrument.
and then
Torej, duh na telo.
and then determining where things end up.
In določa, kje se bodo pojavile težave.
Right? Now, again, that's just a rough analogy,
To je neka približna primerjava.
it's at least anatomically feasible
Kar se tiče anatomije, je prepričljivo,
right?
možno.
But we may, we're probably going to be learning more over time.
Verjetno bomo s časom vedeli več.
We are also told
Lahko tudi preberemo, možgani so glavno mesto telesa, sedež vseh živčnih sil in duševnega delovanja. Iz možganov izhajajoči živci nadzorujejo telo. Po možganskih živcih se duševni vtisi prenašajo na vse živce v telesu kot po telegrafskih žicah in nadzorujejo življenjsko delovanje vsakega dela sistema, organizma. Vsi gibalni organi se ravnajo po sporočilih, ki jih prejmejo iz možganov.
So this was written a long time ago when there were telegraphs.
To je dolgo časa nazaj napisano, takrat, ko je glavna komunikacijska možnost bila telegraf.
But it's a very physiologic description of what happens and how it works.
Vendar je prav lep vpogled fiziološki v delovanje organizma.
Now, why do some conditions or problems affect one side or begin on one side of the body?
Zakaj nekatere stvari se začnejo na eni strani telesa ali pa v neki točki?
Right? For example, you develop a rash.
Naprimer, kako se reče to? Izpuščaj, ja, hvala.
Right? And the rash starts on one side of the body.
In ta se zgodi nekje na delu telesa.
And then it kind of goes from there.
In potem se malo preseli
And it eventually crosses over and involves more of the body.
in gre okoli in morda zdaj več telesa zajame.
Well, why does it start where it starts?
Zakaj se začne prav tam, kjer se je?
Now, you can have a chemical exposure to one part of the body,
Ne morete biti kemično izpostavljeni v enem delu, z enim delom.
you can have.
Lahko.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Lahko je en del telesa izpostavljen vplivom kemije.
right? So like, I don't know what you have here, but in the United States we have poison ivy.
Mi imamo neko rastlino, kako se že? Enostopeno, ja, imamo, we have them also.
Okay, and so you might brush into the poison ivy with one hand,
In z eno roko ste se dotaknili te rastline
and so it starts on that hand.
in zdaj izpuščaj se naredi tam.
And so we go, okay, well, yeah, you had an exposure here, but not there.
To razumemo, izpostavljeni ste bili s to roko, ne z drugo,
And that's why it started on the one side,
zato se je začelo tam.
right? But there are many rashes
Ampak mnogi izpuščaji
that have nothing to do with exposure.
nimajo nobene zveze z izpostavljenostjo.
The rash comes from the inside out
Lahko pride od znotraj
and then affects the skin.
in prizadene kožo.
And the question is, why there?
Vprašanje je, zakaj tam?
And some people might say, well, it's because of what I was eating.
Nekateri pravijo, to je zaradi tega, ker sem to in to jedel.
But if you take in food
Ampak če vnesete v telo hrano
or you breathe something in,
ali nekaj z dihanjem vnesete
and then it gets into the bloodstream,
in pride v krvni obtok,
and then from the bloodstream it goes where?
kam gre po krvnem obtoku? Everywhere,
Yeah, everywhere,
posod.
right? So if it's the result of the chemical,
Če bi bila vzrok kemikalija,
then it should show up everywhere.
moralo bi se pokazati posod.
So if it shows up on one side of the body,
Če se pokaže samo na eni strani telesa,
it's not just the chemical,
ne gre samo za kemikalije.
right? And if it's inheritance,
Če mislite, da je to dedno,
then it should be there from the time the child is little,
bi moralo biti tam, odkar je otrok majhen.
and it shouldn't affect just one side,
In ne bi smelo prizadeti samo ene strani telesa,
because the broken genes are everywhere.
zato ker so nepravilni geni povsod.
And if it's inheritance, it doesn't get better and then get worse.
Če je podedovana bolezen, potem se ne izboljšuje, ampak se poslabša.
Over time, you know,
S časom se slabša,
because the genes are what the genes are,
ker geni delujejo tako, kot pač delujejo.
right? So if you have one that begins on one side of the body,
Če imate bolezen, ki se začne na eni strani telesa,
you have a cancer that begins on one side of the body,
naprimer rak,
you have a, you know, and so on.
tudi druge bolezni,
Well, it's not inheritance,
ne gre za dednost,
it's not chemical,
ne kemikalije,
but it could be the mind,
lahko pa je
because this side of the brain
ker ta stran možganov
controls this side of the body,
nadzoruje drugo stran telesa.
and this side of the brain
Ta stran
controls that side of the
nadzoruje
body,
desno stran.
right?
Telesa.
And you can have electrical impulses or thoughts on one side of the brain,
In vi imate lahko misli, ki so se zgodile na eni strani,
and that's going to affect one
Možgane.
side of the body.
in ta bo prizadela določeno stran telesa.
Now, if the thing begins on the dominant side,
Če se začne bolezen na dominantni strani, which would be for a left-handed man here.
well, the dominant side for a right-handed person
Za desničarje je dominantna stran,
is the right side of the body,
a je desna stran.
right? And the non-dominant side would be the left
In recesivna stran ali pa nedominantna bi bila na levi.
of the body.
Ja.
But remember, the head is opposite,
Ampak v glavi je narobe.
right? And the face is opposite,
In tudi za obraz velja, da je narobe.
right? But don't worry, anyways.
Ampak to ni zdaj.
So if it shows up in the body on the dominant side,
Če se bolezen pokaže na vaši dominantni strani,
my question is,
moje vprašanje bi bilo,
what's going on in your relationships with mother, spouse, or lovers?
moje vprašanje pacientu bi bilo, kaj se dogaja v odnosu z materjo, možem ali nekom.
And so, because in my experience,
Ker je v moji izkušnji je bilo tako.
the issues with those relationships tend to show up on the dominant side.
Stvari, ki se tičejo problemov v teh odnosih, se pokažejo na dominantni strani.
And if it shows up or begins on the non-dominant side,
Če se pa pojavi bolezen ali znaki na drugi strani,
and then my question is, all right, what's going on with your relationships with father,
the first was mother,
mother, spouse, and lovers?
in ljubimec. Mati, zakonec in ljubimec, če na dominantni strani. Če ne, je vprašanje odnosa z očetom, pada,
siblings,
brate in sestre,
children.
otroci,
Those are the majority ones.
to je večinom.
But it could
večinoma.
be other relationships too,
Ampak tudi drugi odnosi spadajo tja.
like friends, coworkers,
Prijatelji, sodelavci.
right? That tends to show up on the non-dominant side.
To ima tendenco, da se pokaže na nedominantni strani.
And there are many times when I'm talking with an individual
Mnogokrat, ko se pogovarjam s pacientom
and I don't know their relationship history,
in jaz ne poznam njihovih odnosov oziroma zgodovine odnosov,
but they tell me what's going on in the body,
ampak ko mi povedo, kaj se dogaja v njihovem telesu,
and then I ask about those relationships and they're like, oh yeah.
in jaz vprašam po teh vrstah odnosov in oni rečejo, ja, prav tam, prav to.
Or I've gotten somebody's relationship history first,
Ali pa najprej zvem zgodbo nekoga drugega
and then they begin to tell me about their health history,
in potem mi govorijo o zdravju v preteklosti, svojem zdravju,
and that they got breast cancer,
oziroma o bolezni. In naprimer imeli so raka
and I go, oh, that started on your left side, didn't it?
in jaz pravim, začelo se je na levi strani, kar ne.
And they're like, yeah, how did you know?
Oni pravijo, kako pa ste vedeli?
Right? Because they never told me.
Ker oni meni niso povedali, na kateri strani je bilo.
But by the relationship history, I can tell.
Ampak zaradi tega, ker poznam zgodovino njihovih odnosov, vem.
Right? But again, this is an observation.
To je opažanje.
I would not call this a law.
Tega ne bom imenoval zakon.
And I have seen exceptions to it.
In sem videl tudi izjeme na tem področju.
Right? So it's an interesting observation.
Zanimiva opažanja so to.
Now, disease is often associated with certain things.
Bolezen je povezana z nekaterimi določenimi stvarmi.
Loss,
Izgubo.
right? I find that cancer very often is associated with loss.
Ugotavljam, da je rak pogosto povezan z izgubo.
Bitterness.
Zagrenjenost.
I find that autoimmune diseases often are associated with bitterness.
Če kdo goji zagrenjenost, pogosto ima težave z avtoimunskimi sistemi, boleznimi.
Right? There's guilt.
Krivda.
Right? And that may have impacts on blood pressure or other things.
Krivda ima vpliv na krvni tlak in druge.
Conflict.
Spopadi.
Well, that's often associated with thyroid and other issues.
Se pogosto pokažejo na ščitnici.
Right? The loss of control.
Izguba nadzora, ja.
Right? So these are major issues when it comes to the mind and its relationship to disease.
To je glavna razdelitev, ko se pogovarjamo o boleznih in umu.
So when I'm dealing with somebody that has disease,
ko se ukvarjam z nekom, ki ima bolezen,
I want to make sure that I address these issues.
Jaz hočem se ukvarjati s temi stvarmi.
And as we've looked at on Friday,
Kako smo videli v petek,
the solution for these things
rešitev za te stvari
is ultimately going to be found at the cross.
Bo v glavnem na koncu križ.
And the exchange of your life with the life of Christ.
In torej rešitev je v zamenjavi našega življenja za Kristusovo življenje.
So you don't have to be the victim anymore.
Da vam ni treba več, da ste žrtev,
You don't have to be the perpetrator anymore.
niti ne storilec.
You can find your freedom there.
Lahko najdete svojo svobodo tam.
And we read,
In telo sta tesno povezana. Če je eno napadeno, je prezadeto tudi drugo. Stanje uma vpliva na zdravje mnogo bolj, kakor se mnogi zavedajo. Mnoge bolezni, za katerimi trpi človeštvo, so posledica duševnih stisk. Žalost, strah, nezadovoljstvo, obžalovanje, krivda in nezaupanje lahko zlomijo življenjske sile ter povzročijo propadanje in smrt. Bolezen včasih nastane in se pogosto zelo poslabša zaradi umišljanja. Mnogi so vse življenje bolehni, čeprav bi bili lahko zdravi, če bi le tako tudi mislili. Mnogi si domišljajo, da bo najmanjša izpostavljenost že povzročila bolezen in hude posledice se pojavijo samo zato, ker jih pričakujemo. Veliko jih umre za boleznimi, katerih vzrok je popolnoma umišljen.
and it goes on.
Pogum, upanje, vera, sočutje in ljubezen krepijo zdravje in podaljšujejo življenje. Zadovoljno srce in veseli duh sta zdravje telesu in moč duši. Veselo srce daje dobro zdravilo v pregovorih v Svetem pismu. Pri zdravljenju bolnih ne smemo spregledati učinka vpliva uma. Če je ta vpliv pravilno uporabljen, nam zagotavlja najučinkovitejše sredstvo za premagovanje bolezni.
So, in dealing with disease,
Ko se ukvarjamo z boleznimi,
it's very important to take into consideration what's going on in the mind.
se moramo pozabavati s tistim, kar se dogaja v umu.
And to only deal with the physical issues
Če se samo ukvarjamo s tem, kar vidimo na telesu ali pa ugotavljamo na
with
telesu,
physical treatments
in telesno se lotevamo tega,
is unfortunate,
to je žalostno,
right? Because it's going to miss so much.
ker bo zgrešilo veliko tega.
Now, when it comes to the immune system and its function,
Ko gre za delovanje imunskega sistema,
we recognize that the immune system really has its birth in the bones.
mi ugotavljamo, da imunski sistem ima svoj začetek v kosteh.
And whether it's, whether the different types of white blood cells,
Različne vrste belih krvničk.
if you work in an intensive care unit
Če delate na intenzivni negi v bolnici
and you get blood work on somebody several times a day,
in nekajkrat na dan dobite izvide, krvne izvide za svojega pacienta,
then you recognize that the numbers of the different blood cells are always changing.
potem boste ugotovili, da se določeno število, ki se tam pojavlja za krvne te zadeve, stalno spreminja.
And you can get, from hour to hour,
Iz ure v uro namreč.
right? So minute to minute.
Celo minute v minuto.
And so what is it that changes those levels so fast and so often?
Kaj spreminja te ne parametre, ampak številke, izide tako pogosto?
Has anybody ever broken a bone?
Ali je kdo, jaz, ali ste zlomili kakšno kost?
Yeah, I have.
Jaz sem tudi.
Yeah, I've broken 4 major ones, and then
4 velike zlome sem imel jaz
several other smaller ones.
in nekatere manjše še.
You know, when you break a bone,
Ko zlomite kost,
it's painful.
je boleče.
Why is it painful?
Zakaj boli? Because of the nerves.
There are lots of nerves in the bones,
Veliko živcev je v kosteh.
right? Lots of nerves.
Veliko.
Why are there lots of nerves in something that doesn't move?
Zakaj bi bilo toliko živcev v nečem, kar se ne premika?
Well, the nerves are there
Tam so,
to control the blood vessels,
da bi nadzorovale krvne žile
to control the cells that make the bones,
in da bi kontrolirale, nadzorovale celice, ki proizvajajo kosti,
and to control the stem cells that make the different blood cells.
in da kontrolirajo matične celice, ki določajo krvne ploščice oziroma krvne celice.
Right? And when you have an immune dysfunction,
Ko imate napačno delovanje imunskega sistema,
so specifically if we talk about autoimmune disease,
zlasti če govorimo o avtoimunih boleznih,
right, then there are a couple of things that are happening.
lahko rečemo, da se več stvari dogaja pri tem.
Whether it's antibodies being produced,
Ali se proizvajajo ali ne antitelesa,
or it's the white blood cells' action upon the body's cells,
ali pa bele krvničke vplivajo na celice,
something has dysfunctioned.
nekaj se je napačno zgodilo.
And what is it that can cause the dysfunction?
In kaj je povzročilo napačno delovanje?
Right? Through the nervous system,
Po živčnem sistemu.
right? Because if it can get better and worse,
Če se lahko izboljša in poslabša,
if at times it can come and then go,
Če včasih pride, včasih se umakne,
it is not inheritance.
to ni dednost.
And if it's improving and worsening,
Če se izboljšuje in slabša,
is not clearly associated with what you're eating or drinking,
ni jasno povezano s tem, kar pijete in jeste.
then it's not a chemical thing either,
To pomeni, da niti kemična stvar ni vzrok.
right? But it can be the mind.
Lahko pa je
And when you're looking for autoimmune disease causes,
Če premišljujete o vzrokih avtoimunih bolezni
and you want the Bible to help you out,
in dovolite Svetemu pismu, da vam pomaga,
go look in the Bible for passages that refer to bone, bones, or marrow.
poglejte v Svetem pismu vrste, ki omenjajo kost, kosti ali kozni mozek.
Right? And I find that you're most productive in Psalms, Proverbs, and Isaiah.
Največ boste bili v psalmih, Izaiju in pregovorih.
And if it talks about weak bones or broken bones,
Če govori o šibkih kosteh ali zlomljenih kosteh
or if it talks about dry marrow,
ali o suhem mozgu,
then it's talking about the problem.
potem govori o težavah.
And so you read around there
In berete okoli tega odstavka,
to see what's associated with dry, weak bones or
da
dry
vidite,
marrow.
s čim je povezana suha kost ali suha kostni mozek. Ja.
Right? And that will tell you what the cause of the problem is.
In tam boste našli vzrok te težave.
Right? And if it talks about strong bones or fat marrow,
Če govori o močnih kosteh in masnem ali debelem mozgu,
then it's talking about the solution.
potem govori o rešitvi. Ja.
And you read around that
In če okoli berete v besedilu,
to find out what's associated with it,
boste našli
and
v povezavi,
that will be your solution.
to bo tudi vaša rešitev.
And so in my research,
Jaz sem, ko sem to raziskoval, našel
particular verses in relation to the problem
nekatere vrste, ki so govorile o težavah.
are these different chapters in Psalms
To so različni psalmi, 6, 31 in tako naprej.
and these in
V
Proverbs.
pregovorih so 12, 14 in 17 poglavje.
And then as far as the solution is
Kar,
concerned,
ko gre za rešitev,
you have those to look at.
imate psalme, pregovori in Izaija.
Right? And the context will tell you
So besedilo vam bo povedalo,
what you're dealing with.
zakaj gre.
So I'm just going to give you my summary
Jaz vam bom dal samo povzetek.
because I have a whole presentation just on this alone,
Imam celo prezentacijo samo o tem.
and I'm not going through that.
Skozi to ne gremo zdaj.
But when I read the Bible and I look for causes of immune dysfunction,
Ko v Svetem pismu iščem vzroke za slabo funkcioniranje imunskega sistema,
so I find these things.
najdem in sem našel tole. Zapustitev, izdaja, preklinjanje, depresija, nezadovoljstvo, nezvestoba, nespoštovanje, zavist, strah, žalost, krivda, težave brez nadzora, osamljenost, morilec, preganjalec, zavrnitev, očitek, sramota, obrekovanje, jemanje stvari osebno, neusmiljen in potrt duh.
All right. So, are those an internal cause or an external cause?
Ali je za to odgovoren notranji vzrok ali zunanji?
They're all an internal issue,
To je vse notri.
right?
Oh, I read all of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, when the Bible talks about the solution to the immune dysfunction,
Ko Biblija govori o rešitvi za napačno delovanje imunskega sistema,
here is what it talks about.
poglejte, o čem govori. Čisto oziroma veselo srce, pravi skrušen duh, dobro poročilo, to je evangelij, sprejeto strani Boga, sprejemanje drugih, zadovoljstvo v Bogu, odstopanje od zla, nezaupanje vase, spodbujanje drugih, spoštovanje Boga, odpuščanje, iz srca, ki se drži Božjega zakona, zadovoljstvo, Božji duh, ki te podpira, pomoč drugim pri osvobajanju, veselje, zavedanje, da je Bog blizu, zavedanje, da te Bog sliši, zavedanje, da ti Bog odgovarja, da ti pomaga, da te bo rešil in usmiljenje.
And this,
In še mir, prijetne besede, prejete od Boga in izrečene drugim, pravičnost, odrešenje, pomoč ljudem v stiski, prostovoljno deljenje tega, kar imaš, izročitev, zaupanje v Boga, resnica.
Right. So are those an internal or an external cure?
Ali so to zdravila, ki pridejo od znotraj ali od zunaj?
Yeah, it's internal.
Interno.
Internal.
So notranje.
Yeah. So according to the Bible, the problem is an internal problem.
Če verujete Svetemu pismu, težava je nastala zaradi notranjih zadev
And the solution is an internal solution.
in tudi rešitev je notranja zadeva.
Right? The manifestation is external,
Pokaže se na zunaj,
but the problem is internal.
vendar je težava notranja.
Right? Now, what about childhood illnesses?
Kaj, ko gre za otroške bolezni?
Yeah. So how do we understand when children are sick?
Kako naj razumemo dejstvo, da zbolijo otroci?
Well, remember, every child has inherited nature from their parents.
Spomnite se, vsak otrok dobi naravo, rodi se z naravo, ki jo je dobil od staršev.
And their parents are not perfect.
Ampak starši niso nikoli
And the,
Popolni.
and the parents inherited their nature from their parents.
in njegovi starši so dobili od svojih staršev dedno.
Right. So the children have a challenge already
Otroci se rodijo že z izzivi.
in that they have a nature that causes them to bind to other people as their source.
In imajo takšno naravo, ki jih žene, da se povežejo za vir svojih potreb z drugimi ljudmi.
Right? But the child was created to have a source that is good, perfectly good.
Ampak otrok je ustvarjen, da bi se povezal z izvirom, ki je popoln.
And if this source is not good,
In če njegov vir ni popoln,
then what the child gets is not good.
ker tisto, kar otrok dobi, ni popolnoma dobro,
It's not according to the child's needs.
ne ustreza otrokovim potrebam.
And now the child is going to manifest its distress
In bo v težavah otrok in bo se to pokazalo.
either through challenging behaviors
Ali bo to pokazal z obnašanjem napačnim
or illness.
ali z boleznijo.
Right? And you'll find that the children that are more externally active and not well controlled,
Ugotovili boste, da če so zelo aktivni navzven in so neobvladljivi delno,
they tend to not be so diseased.
oni imajo manj bolezni navadno.
And the ones that internalize it and hold it in,
Otroci, ki to vzamejo vase,
well, they tend to be more diseased.
oni imajo več bolezni, zadržijo.
Right? And so if a child is ill,
Če je otrok bolan,
well, I evaluate whether it could be inheritance,
jaz se ukvarjam z mislijo in vprašanji, ali so to podedovali,
right? Whether it could be chemicals
ali gre za vzrok, ki je v kemiji
and so on.
in drugo.
And if the manifestation of the disease
Če se je bolezen pokazala
is consistent with it being an issue of the mind,
dosledno temu, kar se dogaja v umu,
then my first question in my mind is,
potem se meni porodi prvo vprašanje.
what's going on with mother?
Kaj se je zgodilo z materjo? Kaj
Because,
se dogaja z materjo?
right? Because mother is the child's primary source.
Ker je mati za otroka prvi vir,
And so
glavni vir.
if I talk with mother,
Če se pogovarjam z materjo,
my first question for mother is,
je moje vprašanje za njo najprej,
how is your relationship with your husband
v kakšnem odnosu sta z možem
or with the father?
ali z otrokom in očetom.
Because
Her father.
no, with the child's father.
Okay.
Right?
Dobro.
Yeah. So if the mother is in conflict with her husband,
Če je mati v spopadu z možem,
if she's at loss,
če trpi izgubo,
if she's resentful,
če sovraži,
if she's feeling guilty,
če čuti krivdo,
then the child is going to react to mother's condition.
bo otrok se odzval na materino stanje.
All right? And in that case, I don't deal with the child,
V tem primeru se ne ukvarjam z otrokom,
I deal with the mother
ampak z materjo
or the other significant relationships in the family.
ali z drugimi pomembnimi odnosi od ljudmi, ki imajo odnose s tem otrokom.
Because if mother and the others in the family,
Ker če mati in drugi v družini
if they can learn the truth,
zvedo za resnico
if they can take God as their source,
in sprejmejo Boga za svoj vir,
if they can start taking from Him and filling up with His love,
če se povežejo z njim in začutijo njegovo ljubezen
and they can give that to others,
in jo lahko dajo drugim potem,
right? And they can begin to love the child with God's love,
in če začno ljubiti otroka z Božjo ljubeznijo,
right? Then you see a significant transformation happening in the child,
potem boste videli tudi pomembno spremembo v otroku.
right? We've seen type 1 diabetes reversing.
Videli smo, da se sladkorna bolezen tipa 2, kaj? One je bilo, sorry. Da se je obrnila, torej da se je izboljšala, da se je ozdravila.
Right? We've seen autoimmune diseases,
Avtoimunske bolezni pa
Stop.
so se ustavile.
right? We've seen children that have,
Tik.
repetitive tick behaviors and
Da,
so on.
otroci, ki so imeli tik, so stalno
Right.
ponavljali iste gibe,
Their ticks go away,
so tik je odšel.
right? And others,
In druge
other
stvari.
things, right? And that's without treating the child.
To je bilo brez tretmaja, nismo obravnavali otroka,
It's with teaching the parents,
ampak smo poučili starše.
and the parents restoring their connection to God.
In starši so vzpostavili odnos z Bogom,
Right?
ali pa ga ponovno vzpostavili.
Now, what about mental illness?
Kaj pa z umskimi težavami?
Well, the mind has two components.
Ima dve komponenti, dve prvini.
It has brain
Možgane
and spirit,
in duha.
right? And the brain is the physical part. It's made up of chemicals.
Možgani so snovni in imajo kemikalije v sebi,
Right.
so sestavljeni iz kemikalij.
And the spirit is spiritual. It's not made of chemicals.
Duh ni narejen iz kemikalij.
And it's through the spirit that the production of chemicals in the brain is controlled.
Duh nadzoruje proizvodnjo kemikalij v telesu.
And a problem in the spirit can change the chemicals in the brain.
Težave v duhu lahko povzročijo drugačno kemijo v telesu.
And a problem in the
V možganih.
spirit
Težave z duhom
can lead to inflammation and disease in the brain,
vodijo v vnetja in možganske bolezni.
right? And if the brain is inflamed or diseased,
Če je, šlo je za možgane vedno. Torej, če so možgani vneti ali imajo bolezni,
if the
bolne,
brain doesn't have the right fuel
če nimajo pravega goriva,
because of a deficiency or a
Zaradi
toxin
pomanjkanja
or
ali-
something,
zastrupitve,
right? If there's physical trauma to the brain,
če so doživeli telesno travmo,
then the mind cannot function properly.
potem ne more normalno delovati.
The thoughts can be deranged,
Misli se lahko, misli niso več uravnovešene.
and this can result in hallucinations or delusions,
Lahko se pojavijo halucinacije ali utvare.
right? So you can have mental health disease
Imate torej lahko mentalno bolezen
because of physical issues happening to the physical brain,
zaradi težav, ki so fizične narave, torej ki so se udarili v glavo in poškodovali možgane.
or because of spiritual issues happening in the spirit,
Ali zaradi duhovnih zadev, ki se dogajajo v duhu
and then its impact upon the brain.
in vplivajo na možgane potem.
And since you need both to be able to think,
Ker potrebujete eno in drugo, da bi premišljevali.
if one's messed up
Če en, kakor ni treba,
or the other is messed up
ali drug,
or both are messed up,
ali oba,
it will affect thinking.
bo trpelo mišljenje.
Right? Now, continuing in that 1905 quote,
Ko nadaljujemo tisti citat iz 1905. leta,
right? So
treba
tho-
je, sorry,
yes, those unhealthful conditions should be changed,
treba je spremeniti nezdrave razmere.
right? So it's appropriate to use natural remedies,
Primerno je, da se uporabijo
right?
naravna sredstva.
It's appropriate to change your lifestyle,
Prav je, da spremenite način življenja.
right? It's appropriate to go eat an avocado,
Prav je, da greste jesti v avokado.
right? Plant-based diets, they're good,
Rastlinska prehrana je dobra.
right? It decreases inflammation.
Zmanjšuje vnetja.
There's so much research that shows that in sports you recover faster if you're on a plant-based diet.
Veliko raziskav je, ki kaže, da športniki hitreje okrevajo, če so na tem režimu rastlinske prehrane.
Right? On plant-based diets, there is less cancer,
Tisti, ki jedo rastline samo, imajo manj raka
less autoimmune disease,
in manj avtoimunskih bolezni,
less heart disease,
manj srčnih obolenj,
less stroke,
manj srčnega kapi,
longer life,
daljše življenje,
greater quality of life,
boljšo kakovost življenja.
and so it does have an effect,
In to ima vpliv.
right? And it's something to consider,
O tem je treba premišljati.
right? But also the water,
Ampak tudi voda.
right? Remaining well hydrated.
Moramo imeti dovolj vode v telesu, biti hidrirani.
That's my cue.
Hvala lepa za trenutek. Kdor govori, veliko vode porabi. Mislim, veliko izpusti.
So not only staying hydrated internally,
Ne samo, da daste vodo telesu, telesnim celicam,
but bathing often,
ampak tudi pogosto umivanje.
right? Others will appreciate that,
Drugi bodo tudi rekli, da je to prav.
right? These are important things.
To so pomembne stvari.
And also you can use water from a treatment standpoint
Lahko tudi tretirate ljudi oziroma zdravite ljudi z vodo.
by exposing different parts of the body to different temperature water.
Ko izpostavljate različne dele telesa, različno topli ali mrzli vodi.
Because cold water is going to cause the blood vessels to constrict
Zato, ker mrzla voda krči krvne žile
and decrease blood flow to certain areas.
in potem zmanjšuje krvni obtok v nekaterih predelih telesa.
And warm or hot water is going to cause blood vessels to dilate
Topla ali vroča voda povzroča, da se krvne žile razširijo
and increase blood flow to those areas.
in se v tem, tam, kjer se to aplicira,
Right.
pospeši krvni obtok.
So by water treatments, you can manipulate blood flow.
Tako z vodo, različno toplo vodo, regulirate krvni obtok.
Right? There's exercise,
Obstaja tudi telovadba.
but I say that how we exercise today is not how God intended.
Ampak moram reči, da naša telovadba ni tista, ki jo je Bog načrtoval.
Because exercise today is all about me.
Telovadba danes je usmerjena nase.
It's about how healthy am I,
Kako zdrav sem jaz,
how fit am I,
kako sem sposoben jaz,
how strong am I,
močan,
how flexible am I,
kako sem gibčen.
and so on. And so it's been turned into something that's completely selfish.
Obrnjeno je zdaj, da je zdaj popolnoma sebično.
If you want to go anywhere and see more pictures of yourself,
Če greste kamorkoli in želite videti več svojih slik,
you just go to a gymnasium
pojdite v telovadnico.
and the walls are pasted with mirrors.
Tam so dali, na stene so dali ogledala.
And everywhere you look, you can see yourself.
Kamorkoli pogledaš, vidiš sebe.
You can do some Arnold Schwarzenegger poses.
Zdaj take poze, ki so jih ti telovadci
Right.
so se v njih slikali.
Well, God intended for us to get our exercise while we're in the process of helping others and doing life.
Bog je načrtoval, da bi mi telovadili, uporabljali mišice, ko pomagamo drugim in sploh živimo.
Right? And
Delamo, ne?
now that doesn't mean that dedicated exercise is wrong.
To ne pomeni, da je usmerjena telovadba napačna.
Just consider why you're doing it.
Ampak se vprašajte, zakaj to počnete.
Who are you doing it for?
Za koga to počnete.
Now remember, the body is not yours.
Se spomnite? Telo ni vaše.
It belongs to God.
Pripada Bogu.
So if you're being a steward of God's body,
Če ste upravitelj telesa, ki ni vaše, ki je Božje,
then exercise is a good part of that,
potem je telovadba dober del tega.
but you don't exercise for you,
Ampak ne telovadite zase,
you exercise for Him,
telovadite zanj.
right? And so on, right? Living temperately,
Zmerno življenje.
right? Temperance is avoiding what is harmful,
Zmernost je izogibanje tistemu, kar je škodljivo,
and it's using wisely things that are good,
in modra uporaba tistega, kar je dobro.
right? And that's appropriate, right?
To je prav.
Right? Don't drink alcohol.
Ne pijte alkohola,
Don't smoke.
ne kadite,
Right? Don't eat your processed red meats.
niti ne predelanega rdečega mesa,
Don't breathe asbestos.
ne dihajte azbesta
Don't go breathing out of the car's exhaust pipe.
in ne dihajte tam, ker so izpušni plini.
Right? All of these things are things that are harmful, and it's best to be avoided.
Vse te stvari so škodljive in se jim je treba izogibati.
But water is good,
Voda je dobra,
but you can get too much of it,
ampak lahko spijete preveč
and you can kill yourself with
in
it.
se lahko ubijete na ta način.
Right? There was a radio contest in the United States,
V Združenih državah je bilo neko tekmovanje, radijsko tekmovanje.
right? And they got this idea, well, water is good for you,
In oni so premišljali tako, voda je dobra
so they're going to have a water drinking contest to see who can drink the most.
in bomo organizirali tekmovanje v pitju vode in bomo videli, kdo bo zmagal.
And the one who drinks the most water, the channel was 106 FM,
Kanal je bil 106 FM. Aha, 106 je bil kanal, se je imenoval.
right? And so they were
Frekvenca je bila
going
106.
to give the winner $106.
In so rekli, da bo zmagovalec dobil $106.
And there was a young lady,
Bila je neka deklica,
and she was really short on money,
primanjkovalo jo je
but she had access to
denarja,
water.
imala pa je dostop do vode.
And in 24 hours,
V 24 urah
she drank over 6 gallons of water.
je spila 30 litrov vode.
She won the contest,
Zmagala je,
but she never got the money
nikoli ni dobila denarja vendar,
because she died.
ker je umrla.
Right? She died. Right? So there are good things,
So dobre stvari, kje,
but you can overdo the good things.
ampak lahko pretirate v dobrem tudi.
Right? Love.
Ljubezen,
All right, I'm not going to talk more about that. We've talked a lot
o
about
tem
it.
smo že govorili, ne bom.
Right? Nutrition.
Prehrana.
Right? And again, a whole food plant-based diet.
Še enkrat pravim, nepredelana rastlinska hrana. Polna, okej, polnovredna.
Right? So if I give you two principles in regards to nutrition,
Če vam dam dve načeli, kar se tiče zdravega prehranjevanja,
that will go the farthest towards promoting health.
to bo naredilo, ta dva bosta naredila največ za vaše zdravje.
One,
Prvič,
eat plants, not animals.
jejte rastline, ne živali.
And number two,
Drugič,
eat whole, not processed.
jejte polnovredno in ne predelano,
Right?
prečiščeno.
Right? So the more processed it is, the less healthy it is for
Bolj
you.
prečiščeno je slabše za zdravje.
And the more animals in the diet, the less healthy it is for you.
Več živalskih proizvodov je slabša prehrana.
So with those two principles,
S temi dvemi načeli
you can go a long way towards
lahko najdlje pridete k zdravju.
nourishing the body correctly.
Da telo hranite pravilno, da ga prehranjujete, da mu date, kar je potrebno.
Now there's the environment.
Okolje
An environment includes sunshine,
zajema sončno svetlobo,
right? That's good.
ta je dobra.
In the retina
V roženi, kaj?
with
Roženice ni?
yes,
Roženice.
yeah, in the retina of the eye,
It's inside, right?
the back of the eye,
Mrežnica, dobro.
right?
Očesna mrežnica.
When the light comes and it strikes that,
Ko to zadane sončna svetloba,
it converts an amino acid called tryptophan
spremeni aminokislino, ki se imenuje triptofen,
into serotonin,
v serotonin.
and serotonin helps with our mood and,
Serotonin pomaga pri
and the brain
razpoloženju
health, right?
in dobrem zdravju.
If you eat plants
Če uživate rastlinsko hrano
and you absorb chlorophyll,
in pojeste hrano, ki vsebuje klorofil,
then when you're out in the sunlight,
ko ste na sončni svetlobi,
enough of the sunlight will penetrate the body
dovolj sončne svetlobe bo pridrlo v telo,
to activate the chlorophyll,
da bo aktiviralo ta klorofil
right, and add to energy production in the body.
in bo dodatno okrepčalo telo.
And of course, cholesterol in the blood vessels near the skin
Kolesterol, ki je v koži, ja, lahko je v krvnih žilah, ampak v koži.
right?
Blizu sonca. Poslušaj zdaj.
Yeah, in the blood vessels, right? It's in sunlight. It's converted to vitamin D precursor,
In ko pride sončna svetloba, to se spremeni v predhodno kemikalijo za vitamin D.
and then that goes to the kidneys, and it converts it to the active form of vitamin D.
In potem v ledvicah se spremeni v aktivno substanco vitamin D.
And sufficient levels of vitamin D
Zadostne količine vitamina D
are associated with so many health factors, it's difficult to remember them all.
povezuje s toliko dobrimi zadevami glede zdravja, da jih je težko vse si zapomniti.
Your vitamin D levels are good,
Če je raven vašega vitamina D
less
dober,
inflammation,
manj boste imeli vnetij,
less diabetes,
sladkorne bolezni,
less heart disease,
srčne bolezni,
less dementia,
manj demence,
right? Less cancer,
raka,
right? There's all sorts of benefits.
veliko pozitivnih stvari.
Environment involves your thought life as well,
Tudi miselno življenje je okolje.
right? And includes air.
Okolje tudi pomeni zrak.
And thankfully, your air here is not polluted so much,
Vaš zrak, hvala Bogu, ni tako onesnažen.
And the worst way that you can pollute your air
Največ škode lahko z zraku naredite s kajenjem.
right? Yeah. And then usually the next worst way that you can pollute your
Druga
air
najhujša stvar, ki si jo lahko naredite, je
is
za zrak.
keeping all the windows and doors closed.
Če imate vedno zaprta okna.
Right? Nature,
Narava.
right? There's plenty of research that shows that being in nature,
Veliko raziskav je pokazalo, da ko ste v naravi,
it helps with immune function.
pomagate svojemu imunskemu sistemu.
It decreases the production of stress hormones.
Zmanjša se proizvodnja hormonov, ki povečujejo stres.
There's improved cardiovascular or heart function in nature,
V naravi srce in ožilje bolj deluje.
and so on, right? Humanity was put into a garden, not a city.
Človeštvo je bilo postavljeno po ustvarjenju v vrt, ne v mesto.
Now most people live in a city, not in the garden.
Danes večina ljudi živi, nekateri pa ima,
And we,
v mestu in ne na vrtu.
right? And we think we're advancing,
In mislimo, da je to napredek.
right? Dress,
Oblačenje.
right? How you dress has an impact upon your health as well.
Oblačenje ima vpliv na zdravje, prav tako.
Some of the basic principles in regards to dress
Nekaj temeljnih načel, ki se nanašajo na oblačenje,
is nothing tight,
je, da nič ne sme biti preveč stisnjeno,
because tight clothing starts blocking off circulation.
ker oblačila, ki so pretesna, ovirajo krvni obtok.
And another factor
Druga stvar,
is circulation is more even when the temperature of the extremities is similar to the temperature of the core.
Cirkulacija je boljša, bolj uravnovešena, če je temperatura okončin podobna temperaturi trupa.
Right? So when you wear clothing that evenly covers the extremities and the trunk,
Če ste oblečeni v oblačila, ki enako pokrivajo trup in okončine,
then there's better circulation.
imate boljšo cirkulacijo.
Right? And then, of course, it prevents more cuts and scrapes when you fall and so on.
In če ste prav oblečeni, boste imeli manj poškodb prask in ureznin.
All right, sufficient rest.
Potreben je tudi odmor, počitek.
Right, often we think of sleep,
Pogosto mislimo na spanje.
and some of the research says between 7 and 9 hours of sleep a night.
Nekateri raziskovalci so pokazali, da potrebujete 7 do 9 ur na noč.
Right,
Spanje.
getting to bed earlier
Pomembno je iti v posteljo prej,
is important,
smo rekli.
but sleep is not the only form of rest.
Ampak spanje ni edini počitek.
Vacations,
Iti na dopust,
recreation,
rekreacija,
right? A weekly rest,
tedenski počitek,
right? A Sabbath,
šabat,
right? And then there is also rest in trust,
počitek je tudi v zaupanju.
right? So connecting with God
Povezava z Bogom
and trusting Him
in zaupanje vanj
and having peace in your life,
in mir v življenju,
that's a part of rest as well.
to je tudi počitek.
And
Del
then
počitka.
simple trust in God,
Preprosto zaupanje Bogu.
right? So these are all factors that we could look at.
To so vse dejstva oziroma faktorji, ki lahko jih naštejemo.
Now, what if somebody has problems absorbing things?
Kaj, če ima človek težavo, telesno težavo za absorpcijo kemikalij?
Right, so you can absorb through your skin,
Lahko absorbirate skozi kožo,
through your respiratory tract,
dihalne poti,
your
tudi
digestive tract,
prebavila.
and that absorption can be regulated,
Ta absorpcija se lahko uravnava.
right? And the production of chemicals by the cells can be regulated as well.
Tudi proizvodnja kemikalij v celicah se da uravnati.
For example, with cholesterol,
Naprimer, kar se tiče holesterola.
you can absorb anywhere between 25 and 75% of the cholesterol that goes through the digestive tract.
Lahko absorbirate 25 do 75 odstotkov tega, kar je prišlo v vaše črevesje.
Right, and the absorption of vitamin B is dependent upon other factors.
In absorpcija vitaminov B je tudi pomembni so faktorji različni,
Iron as well,
tudi železo.
right? So you can have a high absorption or a low absorption,
Lahko dobro ali pa imate visoko absorpcijo ali nizko.
and the mind is the master controller of chemical levels in the body.
Fenomenalno kontrolira oziroma je glavni kontrolor ravni različnih kemikalij v krvnem obtoku.
And so if somebody has adequate consumption of nutrients,
Če vnesete s prehrano zadosti hranil
but if they still have absorption issues,
in še vedno imajo težav z absorpcijo,
then my question is what's going on with the mind?
potem se sprašujem in njih sprašujem, kaj se dogaja v umu.
Because the mind is going to be the primary controller of that absorption and the production of certain chemicals.
Ker nadzoruje proizvodnjo in raven v teh kemikalij v krvnem obtoku.
Now, wrong habits should be corrected.
Napačne, torej razvade se morajo popraviti.
So if you're not dressing for the weather,
Če se ne oblečete primerno vremenu,
then it helps to, adjust to that,
torej pravi, da se oblečete.
If your thoughts are negative,
Če imate negativne misli,
right, replacing them with the truth of God's word.
zamenjajte te misli z resnico iz Božje besede.
If what you're eating and drinking is not appropriate for the nutrition of the body,
Če tisto, kar pojeste in spijete, ne ustreza potrebam vašega telesa,
well, then changing that,
spremenite to.
right, that's all appropriate.
To je vse prav.
And then nature is to be assisted in her effort to expel impurities and reestablish right conditions in the system.
Treba je pomagati torej naravi, ki si prizadeva izločiti škodljive snovi in v telesu ponovno vzpostaviti pravilne razmere.
Now, how do you expel impurities?
Kako izločite nečiste, škodljive snovi?
That's the liver,
S pomočjo jeter,
the kidneys,
ledvic,
it's the skin,
kože,
it's the lungs,
po pljučih, skozi pljuča tudi.
right? Those are the major organs that are involved in
To
getting
so
rid
glavni
of,
organi, po katerih se znebite.
right?
teh nečistih.
So there's
snovi.
things that you can do to help it.
Obstajajo tudi stvari, ki jih lahko naredite, da se to še na boljši način zgodi.
Again, you can do water therapies or light therapies.
Lahko se tretirate paciente ali pa sebe z vodo ali pa z sončno svetlobo,
To increase blood flow to certain organs.
da bi kri pritekla v nekatere organe po
And
volji.
with exercise to increase your sweating.
S telovadbo povečate potenje,
There are certain herbs that are helpful for liver function and kidney function
nekatere
and so on.
rastline so pomembne oziroma pripravki so pomembni za posamezne organe v telesu.
Right? It's important to not continue putting a whole bunch of garbage back into the body.
Pomembno je, da s prehrano ne vnesete ponovno nečiste stvari.
Right? So eat the things that are good.
Zato jejte, uživajte stvari, ki so zdrave.
And the solution to pollution is dilution.
Rešitev za onesnaženje je razredčenje.
So making sure that you drink a lot of water,
To pomeni pijte veliko vode.
because that's what it's going to be dissolved in and then eliminated with.
V vodi se bo raztopilo in telo bo poslalo to ven.
Right? So that's all important.
To je vse pomembno.
And so now let's look at cause and effect again.
Ponovno se ukvarjamo z vzrokom in boleznijo.
My disease must have a cause,
Moja bolezen mora imeti vzrok.
and the cause always comes before the disease begins.
Vzrok je navzoč, preden se pojavijo posledice.
And as long as the disease is present,
Doklerkoli je bolezen tu,
then the cause must still be present,
potem je vzrok mora biti isto.
because it's the cause that's driving the disease.
Zato, ker vzrok poganja bolezen.
Right? And if the cause is a love issue,
Če je vzrok težava z ljubeznijo,
if it's a violation of law issue,
če je to prestopek kakšnega zakona,
right? If it's my delusion is driving me in the wrong direction issue,
in je moja utvara žene v nasprotni smeri, kot je treba.
then if I only change my lifestyle,
Če samo spremenim način življenja,
if I only do physical treatments,
če se samo ukvarjam s telesnimi zadevami, snovnimi zadevami, ali kako bi rekel, za
and
telo.
I succeed in taking away the disease,
In če mi uspe, da izločim bolezen,
but the cause remains,
ampak vzrok ostane,
well, then some other disease or some other effect is going to come.
potem se bo ta vzrok povzročil kje drugje težavo.
Because as long as the cause remains,
Doklerkoli vzrok ostane,
it must produce an effect.
ta mora imeti posledice.
And if I take the effect away,
Če vzamem posledice,
then it must produce another effect,
potem se mora zgoditi nova posledica.
right? And I have an example in my family.
Imamo v družini primer.
My father,
Moj oče
he had a condition where one of the valves in his heart was getting smaller and smaller.
je imel situacijo, v kateri je ena zaklopka se je zmanjševala.
And the doctors told him, well, it's time for you to have surgery.
Zdravnik je rekel, trenutek je, da vas operiramo.
He didn't have any symptoms,
On ni imel nobenih simptomov,
but they said you should have surgery.
ampak so rekli, morali bi se operirati.
And say, okay.
On je rekel prav
So he had surgery.
in se je pustil operirati.
And then after he had surgery,
Potem,
now the valve is fixed,
da je zaklopka urejena,
but now the electrical activity of the heart isn't working the way that it's supposed to.
ampak električna dejavnost v srcu ni pravilna.
And now he has to have a pacemaker put in
Zdaj mu morajo usaditi pacemaker,
in order to help the heartbeat.
da bi pomagali utripu srca.
And now the heart is beating okay,
Zdaj srce pravilno deluje
and the valve is fixed.
in tudi zaklopka je urejena,
And then he develops a hernia,
zdaj pa ima hernijo.
right? And then he goes in to have surgery and he fixes the hernia.
In tudi to operativno popravijo
And after he fixes the hernia,
in potem
now he can't urinate.
zdaj ne more več urinirati.
So now he has to have a catheter for a few weeks in order to help him to,
Zdaj mu morajo dati kateter, da bi lahko odvajal vodo.
And then he had high blood pressure.
potem je imel visok tlak,
And then he developed a little minor stroke.
potem je dobil manjšo kap,
And now he's back to the blood pressure.
zdaj je spet pri visokem pritisku.
And I'm like, okay, well, at least he has the blood pressure.
Vsaj je nek krvni tlak.
because,
ga ne bi bilo.
because if he fixes that, who knows what else is coming?
Okay, če bi to uredil, kdo ve, kaj bi potem prišlo.
Because he hasn't fixed the cause,
Ker vzroka ni popravil.
right? So the cause must be removed.
Moramo odpraviti vzrok.
And once the cause is removed,
Enkrat, ko to naredimo,
then the effect will cease.
bo prenehal se pojavljati posledica, se prenehala.
Right? But in the meantime,
V vmesnem času.
sure, change your lifestyle,
Seveda, spremenite način
natural
življenja,
remedies,
naravna zdravila uporabljajte,
eliminate toxins,
izločite strupe,
talk with God about it,
o tem se pogovarjajte z Bogom,
trust Him.
zaupajte mu.
It's His body, not yours.
To je njegovo telo, ne vaše.
So therefore, it's His disease, not yours.
Torej je bolezen tudi njegova, ne vaša.
It's His problem, not yours.
To je njegova težava, ne vaša.
But since He's the owner and you're the steward,
Ker je on lastnik, vi ste pa upravitelj,
you get to turn to Him and go, okay, what do you want me to do about it?
morate iti k njemu in povedati, kaj želiš, da naredim.
And now you get to cooperate with Him.
In začnete sodelovati z njim.
And remember, the law shows us that we are to take to give.
Spomnite se, da moramo jemati, da bi dajali.
God is a source,
Bog je vir,
giving to others.
dajanje drugim,
We function as a channel,
delujemo kot kanal
and this is love.
in to je ljubezen.
And so we were created to take from God,
Ustvarjeni smo, da bi jemali od Boga,
to have what's good,
da imamo tisto, kar
and
je dobro,
and to give what's good.
in dajemo drugim, kar je dobro.
And while that's happening,
In ko se to dogaja,
well, that cannot create disease.
to ne bo povzročilo bolezni.
But if I have other people as my source,
Če imam druge ljudi za svoj vir,
and there is none that is good, no, not one,
in v Svetem pismu piše, da ni nikogar, ki bi delal dobro, niti enega samega,
then I get what's bad,
potem dobim, kar je slabo,
and I have what's bad,
in imam, kar je slabo,
and I give what's bad,
in dajem drugim, kar je slabo.
and that can cause disease.
In to lahko povzroči bolezen.
Or if I don't take,
Če pa ne vzamem, ne jemljem,
then what am I going to give?
kaj bom dal?
That can result in disease.
To tudi povzroča bolezen.
Or if I try to take
Ali pa če poskušam vzeti
and then keep it to myself,
in zadržim zase,
well, that's not going to work either.
to isto ne bo delovalo.
So the only way that it works is that I take
Edini delujoči način je, da vzamem
and I give,
in dajem.
right? Why don't I?
Zakaj tega ne počnem?
Well, because I see myself as a little God.
Ker se imam sam za majhnega Boga,
I'm my own.
jaz sem svoj,
My love is
Sam svoj.
giving in order to receive.
jaz dajem zato ljubezen, da bi prejemal,
I'm dependent upon other people,
odvisen sem od drugih,
and so I'm a slave to them.
jim služim oziroma sem sužen,
I expect good from them,
pričakujem dobro od njih,
and they're not good.
ampak oni niso dobri,
So now I'm frustrated,
zato sem zafrustriran
and I have to fix them somehow,
in nekako jih moram spremeniti,
right?
popraviti.
I think it's about me,
Jaz mislim, da je to, da gre zame,
and so I take things personal,
zato vzamem stvari osebno.
right? I see myself as the owner,
Imam se za lastnika.
and so if it's damaged or dies, it's my loss.
Če se kaj pokvari ali kdo umre, to je moja izguba.
And so it's my problem,
To je zato moj problem
and I have to fix it,
in ga moram popraviti jaz.
but I have to control what I cannot control,
Ampak bi moral pri tem nadzorovati tisto, kar sem nezmožen
and that's
nadzorovati.
stressful.
In to je tudi stresno.
And I'm the judge,
Jaz sem sodnik
and as the judge, I condemn
in kot sodnik obsojam
others
druge
and myself.
in sebe tudi.
It's a mess.
To je zmešnjava.
It's a mess. But that's not what God intends for us.
Ampak to ni Božja namera za nas.
But He has created us to be children of God
On nas je ustvaril, da bi bili njegovi otroci,
with none of that.
brez vsega tega v življenju.
Now, when Jesus dealt with disease,
Ko je Jezus ravnal, se srečal z boleznijo,
He always dealt with disease in the context of sin,
vedno je to počel v okoliščinah greha.
and He always referred to healing in the context of faith.
In je vedno govoril o zdravljenju v kontekstu vere.
Right? So when a woman touched the edge of his garment,
ko se je neka ženska dotaknila roba njegove obleke
and her condition was healed.
in se je pri priči ozdravila.
In the crowd, Jesus turned around and said, "Who touched me?"
In to je bilo v množici in Jezus se je obrnil in rekel, kdo se me je dotaknil.
And she finally told her story.
In ona je končno povedala, da je to bila ona.
And he said,
On pa je rekel, zaupaj hči, tvoja vera te je rešila. In žena je bila zdrava od te ure.
right? So your faith has made you well,
Tvoja vera te je rešila.
right? And she was made well from that very hour,
Prav v tem trenutku je ona ozdravela.
right? And another man who was blind came to Jesus,
Prišel je nek človek, ki je bil slep k Jezusu
and he believed that Jesus could heal him.
in je verjel, da ga Jezus lahko ozdravi.
And Jesus told him this,
Jezus pa mu je povedal tole, pojdi, tvoja vera te je rešila. Tako je spregledal in šel po poti za njim.
right? And another one came
Prišel nekdo drug,
for healing,
da bi dobil zdravje
and he said,
in Jezus je rekel, vstani in pojdi, tvoja vera te je rešila.
right? And another one that was sick for 38 years,
Nekdo je bil bolan 38 let.
Jesus healed him.
Tudi njega je ozdravil Jezus.
And when he ran into him again,
Ko se je ponovno srečal z njim, mu je rekel,
he said,
vidiš, ozdravel si, ne greši več, da se ti ne zgodi kaj hujšega.
right? So Jesus always dealt with disease in the context of sin
Ko se je Jezus ukvarjal z boleznijo, je to bilo v kontekstu
and,
greha
and healing in the context of faith.
in ozdravljenje je bilo povezano z vero.
We're also told
Prav tako nam lahko preberemo, obstaja božansko določena povezava med grehom in boleznijo. Noben zdravnik ne potrebuje delati mesec dni, da bi to dojel. Če bo pozoren in pošten, ne bo mogel priznati, da sta greh in bolezen v odnosu, bo moral priznati. Ne bom mogel, ni dobro.
Ne bom mogel kot priznati.
Aha, tako, lahko bo samo priznal, ja, da sta greh in bolezen v odnosu vzroka in posledice. Hvala lepa.
right. So now sometimes we get a little uncomfortable about this because when we think sin being attached to disease,
Mi se počutimo nelagodno včasih zaradi tega, zato ker če povezujemo greh z boleznijo,
now we start thinking, okay, well now I'm guilty for it,
začnemo misliti, jaz sem odgovoren za to ali pa kriv za to.
and now I can be blamed for it.
Lahko me obtožijo za to.
No, but remember, there's no guilt for it.
Ampak spomnite, da smo govorili nekajkrat, da ni krivde za bolezen.
Right? Nobody creates disease in their body on purpose.
Nihče nalašč ne izziva bolezni.
It's simply because of this delusional nature that we have inherited.
Za vse je vzrok ta narava, ki je neresnična, ne, narava ni neresnična, ampak predstave naše o življenju so neresnične in to povzroča narobe stvar.
Right? Now, when we separate sin from disease,
Ko ločimo greh od bolezni,
then we separate the gospel from the cure.
ločimo tudi evangelij od zdravljenja.
And now we simply treat disease as a physical problem,
Zdaj bolezen tretiramo kot telesno zadevo.
and we focus on physical interventions,
In se koncentriramo na tisto, kar lahko sami naredimo telesno.
and our reliance is upon these physical things,
Zaupamo v to telesno
and there's no thought of God.
in nimamo nobene misli glede o Bogu
There's no reliance upon His power to heal,
in ni zaupanja v njegovo
right?
moč, da bi ozdravil.
And that's unfortunately what we find in our health systems,
To najdemo v zdravstvenem sistemu povsod.
right? Now, what is the proper order when seeking health and healing?
Kakšen je pravi vrstni red, če iščete zdravje?
And again, we find that in the Bible too.
Tudi to najdemo v Svetem pismu.
John said this,
Janez je zapisal, ljubljeni, želim, da se ti vsem dobro godi, da si zdrav, kakor se dobro godi tvoji duši.
right? So, our prospering
Naše napredovanje, napredek
and our health
in naše zdravje
happens just like the soul prospers.
se dogaja odvisno od prosperitete ali pa napredka tistega, kar je v glavi.
And how does the soul prosper?
Kako duša napreduje? Z milostjo ste namreč odrešeni po veri, vendar to ni iz vas, ampak je Božji dar. Niste odrešeni iz del, da se ne bi kdo hvalil. Njegova stvaritev smo ustvarjeni v Kristusu Jezusu za dobra dela. Zanje nas je Bog vnaprej pripravil, da bi v njih živeli.
All right, so there's an order here, and it's a specific order.
Tukaj je določen red.
For by grace
Z milostjo ste rešeni.
you have been saved.
Ja.
That comes first.
To najprej pride.
Through faith,
Po veri.
right? So grace is what God does in order to save us,
Milost je tisto, kar Bog naredi, da bi nas rešil,
to set us free.
da bi nas osvobodil.
So it's all His work.
Torej, vse je njegovo delo.
Faith
Vera
is what accepts it as my own.
je tisto, s čimer sprejmemo to zase.
It's not because of works,
Ni zaradi del,
but it's also not without works.
ampak ni niti brez del.
When grace is accepted by faith,
Ko vera sprejme milost,
it will work,
bo delala,
right? It'll work,
bo delala,
but it's never the other way around.
ampak ni narobe.
You don't work for it
Ne delate, ne si prizadevati si za to,
in order to
za milost,
deserve or earn or produce the faith,
da bi nekako proizvedli vero.
right? By
And
which,
also. Tudi proizvedli. Jaz sem en del ti bodo daj. Okay.
and by which you then obtain the grace of God.
Da bi s tem, z vero, lahko potem si prilastili Božjo milost.
That's backwards.
To je narobe.
Doesn't work,
Ne deluje tako.
right? So I only have access to health
Zdravje lahko dobim samo
because of Jesus.
zaradi Jezusa.
Now, when did humanity lose health?
Kdaj je človeštvo izgubilo zdravje?
In the Garden of Eden.
V vrtu, v Edenu.
After how many sins?
Po koliko grehih? Just one.
One, right? So
En sam je bil.
the real condition of health
Prava situacija z grehom je, zdravja, sorry.
is sinlessness.
Zdravje je brezgrešnost.
It's a perfect life.
To je popolno življenje.
And not a single one of us has that.
Niti eden od nas tega nima.
So not a single one of us has a claim on health.
Torej, nihče nima pravice prilaščati si zdravje.
Because we've already violated that.
Ker smo to že zlorabili ali pa zlorabili.
But Jesus had a perfect life.
Ampak Jezus je imel popolno življenje.
He was sinless.
On je bil brez greha.
He met every condition that was required.
On je izpolnil vsak pogoj, ki je bil potreben.
And he offers to us his life
In on nam ponuja svoje življenje
as a gift
kot darilo,
so that we can accept that life as our own.
da bi ga sprejeli za svojega.
Now I can have the sinlessness of his life,
Zdaj imam jaz lahko brezgrešnost njegovega življenja.
and because of his life, now I can have a claim on health.
In zdaj zaradi njegovega življenja si lahko prilaščam pravico do zdravja.
It's the grace of God that made it available.
Božja milost je to omogočila,
Faith takes a hold of the gift,
z vero smo to sprejeli.
and now I am enabled to cooperate with God,
Zdaj sem v priložnosti, da sodelujem z Bogom
and so the works come at the end.
in dejanja pridejo zadnja.
But when faith accepts the gift of God's grace,
Ko vera sprejme dar Božje milosti,
there's a power that I now have access to.
se v meni, naenkrat imam na voljo moč.
I have a motivation that I didn't have before.
Imam spodbudo, ki je nisem imel prej.
I'm enabled to do what I couldn't do before.
In sem zdaj zmožen narediti, česar nisem bil zmožen prej.
Like the man who was paralyzed,
Kako človek, ki je bil vzet, paraliziran.
couldn't move,
Ni se mogel
and
premikati.
Jesus said, move,
Jezus je rekel, zgani se.
right? So now by his power,
Torej, z Jezusovo močjo
I can,
lahko
right?
naredim.
And so the grace of God always comes first,
Torej je na prvem mestu vedno Božja milost.
right? Faith accepts that gift.
vera sprejme dar.
and now I'm enabled to do what he asks to do.
Zdaj lahko delam tisto, kar me on prosi, da delam.
So it's grace,
Milost prevna najprej,
faith,
vera
and works.
in dela na koncu.
It's never the opposite way.
Nikoli narobe.
Now, what about health?
Kaj lahko rečemo o zdravju?
Same thing.
Isto stvar.
Health only comes as a gift of God's grace.
Zdravje je najprej dar Božje milosti.
And that's found in the life of Christ alone.
In to se vidi samo v Jezusovem življenju.
And I can come and accept it as a gift,
Jaz ga lahko sprejmem kot dar
right? And believe that I have the gift.
in verjamem, da ga imam.
And now I have access to a power that can allow me to cooperate with God.
Zdaj imam dostop do moči, ki mi lahko omogoča delovanje po Božji volji.
And live in harmony with the laws that were created for my function.
Zdaj lahko živim v skladnosti z zakoni, ki so ustvarjeni zato, da bi jaz funkcioniral prav.
Right? So when I recognize that God is the source of health,
Ko spoznam Boga za vir zdravja,
that gift is granted to me
da mi je
by
ta
His
dar dan
grace,
po njegovi milosti
that is, it is accepted by faith and faith alone,
in da ga sprejmem lahko samo z vero,
and that faith then works in harmony with God's will,
da potem vera sodeluje z Božjo voljo,
right? When I remember that Jesus never turned anyone away who came to Him for help.
ko se spomnim, da Jezus nikoli ni zavrnil nikogar, ki je prišel k njemu po pomoč,
Even when they brought their own condition on their own selves by their own stuff.
čeprav so oni prišli pod svojimi pogoji in s svojimi zadevami.
Then
Potem
I trust in,
mu zaupam,
I depend upon
zanesem se nanj,
His perfection
da njegova popolnost,
as the basis of my health.
torej na njegovo popolnost kot temelj mojega zdravja.
And I accept that He loves me,
Sprejemam, da me ljubi
and He always listens to my plea for help,
in vedno posluša mojo prošnjo po pomoči.
that He is the one who has guaranteed success, not me.
Da je on zagarantiral uspeh, nisem to jaz.
And I don't trust in substances,
Ne zaupam v snovi
I don't trust in physical treatments,
in v tisto, kar lahko naredijo ljudje, da bi mi pomagali fizično.
I don't trust in programs.
Niti v programe ne verujem.
It doesn't mean I don't use them,
To ne pomeni, da jih ne bom uporabil.
but I don't trust them to bring about the healing.
Ampak ne zaupam, da bo to prineslo zdravje.
I know healing only comes from one place,
Vem, da ozdravljenje pride samo iz enega.
and that's the God who loves me.
To je Bog, ki me ljubi.
And so I see these treatments and programs
Zato tretmaje in programe gledam drugače.
as a way by which faith can act in harmony with God's will.
Kot način, da vera sodeluje v soglasju z Bogom.
It's a way for me to cooperate with God in His process of healing me.
To je način, da sodelujem z Bogom v njegovem procesu zdravljenja.
Right? And so I adhere to those things,
Tako se teh zadev držim
cooperating with His healing power that's already working in me.
in sodelujem z njegovimi napori, ki so že na delu v mojem življenju.
Right? And I stick to the substances and treatments and programs
In se držim tako snovi in tretmajev in programov,
right, that are consistent with His principles,
ki so soglasni njegovim načelom,
because I know that healing comes from Him,
ker vem, da zdravljenje pride od njega,
not from them.
ne iz vsega tega drugega.
And I don't, and if it seems too simple,
Če je videti to preprosto, preveč preprosto,
surely it can't have enough power.
gotovo ne more imeti dovolj moči.
My condition is too big,
Moja problematika je prekomplicirana za njega.
well, you're trusting in the substance or the treatment or the program.
Potem zaupate v program ali tretma ali v snov.
But with God, it
Zdravila.
doesn't matter how simple or small or whatever the thing is.
Bogu ni pomembno, kakšna je stvar, koliko majhna ali velika je.
It's just how I cooperate with Him
Njegovo vprašanje je samo, ali hočem sodelovati z njim.
He's the one that has the healing power.
On ima moč ozdravljanja.
And I trust in him to heal.
Jaz zaupam, da me bo zdravil.
And if I used something in the past that helped,
Če sem nekoč v preteklosti uporabil nekaj, kar je pomagalo,
I don't just automatically run back to that thing,
ne grem avtomatično do te stvari,
because then I would be putting my faith in the thing.
ker bi to pomenilo, da zaupam v to stvar.
I turn to God and go, okay, what do you want me to do now?
Obrnem se k Bogu in vprašam, kaj želiš, da bi zdaj naredil.
And if he says, well, every time you have this symptom, go use that thing,
Če on reče, kadarkoli imaš te bolezenske znake, uporabi to.
okay,
Prav,
that's fine.
v redu,
I'm good with that.
meni je to prav.
So my faith is in his love for me and his power to heal
Jaz
me.
zaupam v njegovo ljubezen in moč, da me ozdravi.
And my actions are simply there to cooperate with the one that I love and trust in.
Moja dejanja so samo zato, da pokažejo sodelovanje s tistim, ki me ljubi
And I trust in.
in mu zaupam.
Right? And I go to him as
Ki ga ljubim in
the,
mu zaupam. Ja.
right? And I go to him and knowing that he knows all.
K njemu pridem zato, ker vem, da on pozna vse.
He's the king of the universe.
On je kralj vesolja.
He has my best interest in mind,
Ima moje največje dobro v mislih.
and I leave the outcome in his hands.
In prepuščam njemu izid.
I leave the timing in his hands.
Tudi časovnico mu ne postavljam, on jo ima sam.
Right? I don't demand that I must be healed in this way and in this
Ne
time.
zahtevam, da me ozdravi na ta način in v hipu, kar jaz rečem.
I trust that he knows me and he knows what's for my best good.
Zaupam mu, da me dobro pozna in da ve, kdaj je najboljši trenutek zame.
And he can choose how and when.
Njemu prepuščam, da izbere kdaj in kako.
So there's no pressure to bring about a good outcome.
Torej, ni nobenega pritiska, ki bi lahko prinesel dober izid.
And I have peace in the midst of the process,
In v tem procesu jaz čutim mir,
knowing that the one that's in control is the one that loves me
ker vem, da tisti, ki nadzoruje stvari, ljubi mene.
and has my best interest in mind.
In v mislih ima najboljši interes zame.
And what's going on,
To, kar se dogaja,
however bad it is,
kakorkoli hudo je,
it's not too much for him.
ni za njega prevelik zalogaj.
Right? So, our problem
Naša težava
is this delusion.
je ta utvara.
And when that delusion is the operating system of our mind,
Ko je ta utvara operativni sistem, ki ga uporablja naš
well, then it goes along with a lot of things,
pride z veliko posledicami.
right? I have those,
Da, imam jih toliko zapisanih. Osebna prizadetost, dajem, da bi prejel, manipuliram, sem sebičen, čutim osamljenost, zagrenjenost, zavrnitev, opravljam nadzor, sužnjujem in imam izgubo, krivdo, nezmernost, pohlep, strah, tesnobo, depresijo, odvisnosti, nezvestobo, ogovarjam, sovražim, obrekujem, čutim ponos in poželenje.
right? So all of that's going on in my mind and my relationships and so
Vse to se
on,
pokaže v mojem umu in mojih odnosih.
and that's associated with,
In to je povezano z boleznimi.
right? And it also affects
Vpliva tudi na skupnost, na družino,
relationships.
na
right?
odnose.
The solution?
Kaj je rešitev?
I'm a child of God.
Jaz sem Božji otrok.
As a child of God, I am not my own.
Jaz nisem torej sam svoj.
I take all I need from God and give it
Vse
to others.
vzamem od njega in dam drugim.
Right? I'm dependent upon God,
Odvisen sem od Boga,
so I'm not a slave to others.
nisem sužen drugih,
I expect good from Him,
pričakujem od njega dobro,
and He is good,
on je dober
so I'm satisfied.
in to mi je dosti.
I'm content.
Ja.
Right? And I know that it's not about me,
Ne gre zame,
and so I don't take things personally.
zato ne jemljem stvari osebno.
I'm not the owner.
Jaz nisem lastnik,
I'm the steward.
ampak oskrbnik.
Right? And nothing belongs to me,
Meni ne pripada nič,
so I can't lose
torej ne
anything.
morem ničesar izgubiti.
It's not my problem.
Ne gre za moj problem,
It's His.
ker je v njegovo.
He's the one that has to fix it.
On ga naj spremeni.
I just get to cooperate with Him in the process.
Jaz želim samo sodelovati z njim v tem procesu.
And I'm not the judge, God is.
Jaz nisem sodnik, ampak Bog.
And I would rather Him judge than me.
Jaz bi rajši videl, da on sodi kakor jaz.
Because if I was the judge, I would probably destroy everything.
Ker če bi bil jaz sodnik, bi verjetno uničil vse.
And he does everything that he can to save as much as possible.
On dela vse, kar je možno, da bi rešil, kar je možno.
And when that is the operating system of my mind,
Če je to operativni sistem, ki ga uporabljam,
well, then there's a little different stuff.
potem se dogaja drugačna posledica.
Right?
Nisem osebno prizadet, sem družaben, dajem, da bi dal, nesebičen, odpuščam, se izročam njemu, pripadam njemu, svoboda, sem brez krivde, čutim zaupanje, pridobivanje, ne vem, nedolžni užitki, torej, ja tako, spodbujanje, podpiranje, zmernost, zvestoba, sprejemanje, zaupanje, radodarnost, ponižnost, čistost in veselje.
Right. And all of that
Vsem tem,
is associated with health.
vse to je povezano z zdravjem.
And not only health,
Ne samo zdravje,
but healthy relationships.
ampak tudi zdravi odnosi.
Now remember, sickness of the mind is everywhere.
Duševne bolezni prevladujejo.
9/10 of diseases that have their foundation here.
9 od 10 bolezni imajo vzrok tukaj.
And it makes sense
In
to me,
meni je smiselno,
if that's where 90% comes from,
če 90% bolezni prihaja iz uma,
put 90% of your effort there.
svoje napore v 90% usmerite tja.
You don't ignore the others,
Ne zanemarjate tisto drugo,
but put the majority of your effort where the majority of the problem is.
ampak največ truda vložite tam, kjer je največ težav.
And our last quote,
Naš zadnji citat. Sprejeti evangelij v njegovi čistosti in moči pomeni zdravilo za bolezni, ki jih povzroča greh.
so how many maladies originated in sin?
Koliko težav na svetu povzroči greh?
All of them,
Vse.
right? So how many of them is the gospel a cure for?
Koliko jih lahko pozdravi evangelij?
It's all of them,
Vse.
right? The gospel is a cure for heart disease.
Veselo sporočilo, evangelij je dobro za srce,
It's a cure for cancer.
je zdravilo za raka,
It's a cure for autoimmune disease.
tudi zdravi avtoimunske bolezni.
It's a cure for diabetes.
Zdravilo je za sladkorno
You name it, it's a cure for it.
in katerokoli drugo bolezen.
And it's by grace,
Po milosti je,
through faith,
skozi vero
that then works,
in potem deluje.
right? I love it.
Imam rad to.
It's good stuff,
To je dobra stvar.
right? And we can trust in the one that we reach out to.
Lahko zaupamo temu, do katerega smo prišli.
And it satisfies our needs physically,
To zadovoljuje naše fizične, telesne potrebe,
mentally,
umske,
spiritually,
duhovne,
relationship-wise,
odnosne.
every aspect of our lives.
Vsak del našega življenja pokriva.
It's beautiful,
To je čudovito.
right? Yeah. Thank you.
Hvala lepa.
Right. Okay, so those out of the way.
Zdaj smo to opravili.
Questions?
Če imate vprašanja, izvolite. It's not a question. I have regret that we are finishing. Bilo je naporno, ampak meni je nekako žal, da se končuje. Res. In danes, if I may say so, vsak dan smo se dobili enkrat in je bilo predtem, sem jaz moral tudi v službo iti in tako naprej, smo se dobili, bilo je malo napeto in tako naprej. Danes je toliko ur, meni se zdi, da smo vsi kot družina danes. Res. Nekaj je v tem, da ljudje, ko so skupaj, da se nekako povežejo. Ne vem. Zato jaz sem močan fant in ne bom jokal, ampak mi je malo žal. There is a question. Izvolite.
Yes.
Prej je razlagal, da se zla zgodi, da imamo različne substance, ne vem, ki jih potrebujemo v telesu. telesu
We need
napasti
certain
napačne,
substances
torej,
or
da
levels
so
of
v pravem
those.
razmerju
Yes.
in da to lahko potem popravlja.
And that
We need what? Certain levels of what?
of substances we need,
Okay, yes.
chemicals and so on, and that mind is in
In charge to correct this.
yes.
Yes.
How we can
Yes.
process this?
Okay,
Če to lahko vodi kako se zapopademo s tem?
right. So, one of the ways that the mind corrects the chemicals
En od načinov, kako uravnava ravni kemikalij v krvnem obtoku, v telesu,
is by being in control of what you eat,
s tem, da kontrolirate tisto, kar jeste,
what you drink,
pijete,
the substances that you voluntarily take in.
tisto, kar sami svojo voljo vzamete vase.
Unconsciously, it controls how much is absorbed or not.
Nezavestno nadzoruje, koliko se absorbira ali pa se ne.
And in fact, the greatest, what should I say, the greatest impact on the epigenome
Največji vpliv na epigenetiko
and the switching on and off of genes in order to affect cellular function
namreč epigenetika je vklapljanje in izklapljanje genov v zvezi s kaj je bilo zadnje? Connected to what? Delovanje celic, ja. Okay.
It's the mind, it's the thoughts,
To je misli.
right? That has the strongest impact upon epigenetic changes.
Ta ima največji vpliv na spremembe v epigenetiki.
Number 2 is nutrition or diet,
Druga stvar je potem prehrana.
and number 3 is exercise,
Tretje pa je telovadba.
right? As far as its impact on the epigenome.
Kolikor se, kar zadeva vpliv na epigenetiko. Na celice po vklapljanju in odklapljanju.
Now, what is the exact mechanism
Točen mehanizem
between a particular thought
neke misli, določene,
and a particular type of neurotransmitter
in neurotransmitera,
that is produced?
ki se proizvede?
The answer is I don't know,
Je odgovor, jaz ne vem.
right? From a principled standpoint,
Iz načelno bi lahko rekel,
the mind to function correctly must have the correct information,
da bi deloval pravilno, mora imeti pravilno informacijo.
right? And that correct information that puts things in the right order,
Ta informacija, ki potem dela red,
that's the truth.
to je resnica.
So the mind needs the truth
Potrebuje resnico,
in order to be able to do its function the way that it's supposed to.
da bi deloval, da bi opravljal funkcijo, za katero je narejen.
And when you introduce error into the system,
Ko vnesete v sistem napako,
then the result is dysfunction in the system,
potem se pojavi napačno delovanje.
right? So what I do when I'm dealing with patients
Torej, jaz s pacientom govorim,
is I am looking for what do you believe,
zanima me, kaj verujete.
right? So we have to have conversations for this.
Moramo se pogovarjati.
And I analyze what you say,
Jaz analiziram to, kar vi rečete.
right? And I ask about relationships,
Mene zanimajo vaši odnosi
and I watch how you respond when you talk about certain individuals.
in opazim, gledam, kakšna znamenja dajete, ko govorite o določenih osebnostih v družbi.
And so when we have a conversation long enough,
In če imava dovolj dolg pogovor,
I can have a good idea of which relationships are problematic.
jaz lahko ugotovim, kateri od vaših odnosov je problematičen.
And so now we can ask questions specifically about it and what's going on.
Potem lahko določeno vprašam za to osebo in za ta odnos,
You
kar me
know,
zanima.
is there resentment that's there?
Ali čutite sovražnost,
Is there guilt associated with
ali je
it?
s tem povezan na krivda,
Is there control and manipulation,
ali manipulacija, želja, da nadzorujete,
conflict, and so on?
spopad ali kaj.
And then, okay, what is it that's the error associated with that?
Katera napaka je potem povezana s tem?
What would be the truth in that situation?
Kaj bi bila resnica v teh okoliščinah?
And let's see if we can understand the truth
Poglejva, ali lahko razumeva resnico
and accept it.
in jo sprejmeva.
And now, when those thoughts or those situations come up again in the future,
In ko te misli ali te stvari pridejo še v prihodnosti,
then we can remember, oh yeah, I need to apply this truth to this situation.
potem se spomnimo, ja, jaz v tej situaciji lahko uporabljam to resnico.
And that always happens after we respond.
To se zgodi potem, ko se mi jo že odzovemo.
But eventually, the truth gets ingrained enough
Ampak na koncu se resnica dovolj zasidra
that it's there.
v da je tam,
So in the future,
da v prihodnosti
you respond according to the truth.
se odzovete že na podlagi resnice, ki ste jo prejeli.
And when that's the
Sprejeli.
case,
Ko je to primer,
then at that time, what the mind is producing in the body is what it needs.
v tem trenutku potem, kar proizvaja, je tisto, kar telo potrebuje.
But there are a lot of dysfunctional thoughts.
Ampak je veliko misli, ki povzročajo disfunkcijo.
And so it's kind of a work of a lifetime
Gre za delo, opravek, ki traja vse življenje.
of replacing the error with the truth,
Menjave laži za resnico.
right? And experiencing the freedom that comes from that
In da doživite svobodo, ki iz tega pride.
and the healing that comes with it as well,
In prav tako tudi ozdravljenje.
you know? And so it's a nice work,
To je lepo početje.
right? But it takes thought, it takes concentration,
Terja misli, osredotočenost,
right? There's a lot of evaluation that happens,
veliko ocenjevanja morate narediti.
and it gives me a lot of stuff to talk with God about,
In to vam daje priložnost za veliko pogovorov z Bogom.
right? So,
Thank you.
yes. Other questions?
Je še kakšno?
No? Good? Yes. Here and then there.
Mene pa zanima njegovo mnenje glede psihiatričnih zdravil.
What is your thought about psychiatrist medications?
Okay, so yeah, psychiatric medications can have, what should I say?
To, kar vam predpiše psihiater, kaj naj rečem?
A ne,
They,
There was a continuation.
okay.
a v bistvu pomagajo v kakšni začetni fazi,
Do they help initially?
ali naprimer preprečijo to naravno zdravljenje, da se potem telo prilagodi in v bistvu ne poteče pač to naravno zdravljenje.
Do they interfere with natural healing?
Right, yes. So it depends on what class of psychiatric medication that we're talking about,
Odvisno je od kakšne vrste zdravil govorimo.
but I'll try to talk about it in general.
Poskušal bom dati splošno sliko.
Because our thinking involves the chemicals,
Ker naše misli zajemajo tudi kemikalije,
because the chemicals are part of the structure of the brain,
ker so kemikalije struktura možganov.
and you got to have the brain in order to be able to think.
In morate imeti možgane, da bi premišljevali.
And the spirit must use the brain in the process of thinking.
Duh mora uporabiti možgane v procesu mišljenja.
If the chemicals are messed up,
Če so kemikalije neprave ali
then right,
ja,
then,
če ni v ravnovesju,
then the ability to think correctly can be messed up as well.
potem je naša sposobnost, da pravilno mislimo, je tudi prizadeta.
And so individuals can hallucinate,
In človek lahko halucinira,
They can see things that aren't there, hear things that aren't
vidi
there.
stvari človek, ki niso
Right.
tukaj ali pa sliši.
And when an individual is fully in psychosis,
Ko je v pravi psihozi, kdo?
and you cannot reason with them.
Z njim se ne da, kako se reče, normalno pogovarjati, ne moreš
Then-
pričevati.
Right? In that context, I find that the medications are helpful
V tem smislu vidim, da so zdravila koristna.
to bring a person to a point where they can reason.
Da pripravijo človeka, da pripeljejo človeka v situacijo, v kateri se lahko pogovarja.
Because I can't counsel with an individual that has no reason.
Ne more se svetovati s človekom, ki mu razum ne deluje trenutno.
Because I'm always appealing to reason.
Ker vedno apeliram na razum.
Right? And if there's no reason to appeal to,
Če nimam se na kaj nasloniti,
then, well, I'm stuck. Right?
obtičim
From that standpoint.
s te strani.
Right? I recognize that there can be influences from the enemy involved in this whole thing.
Vem, da je s tem lahko povezan tudi vpliv sovražnika.
Right? And there are
Sovražnik pomeni hudič.
there are demon possessions and things like that.
Obstaja obsedenost z demoni.
And it can be very difficult to differentiate between a possession
Včasih je zelo težko razlikovati med
and
obsedenostjo
something that results from inflammation or a chemical change in the brain.
in nečesa, kar je povzročila, kako se reče, vnetje, kar je povzročilo vnetje v možganih,
Right,
ali neravnovesje kemično.
Because both have an origin in error,
Ker eno in drugo izvira iz napake.
and error results in delusional thinking.
In napaka ima za posledico napačno premišljevanje, napačno predstavo.
So both can look very similar.
Zato oboje je drug drugemu zelo podobno.
But from a psychiatric standpoint,
Iz stališča psihiatra
the medication can be helpful
so zdravila lahko koristna,
to help an individual out of the psychosis
da pomagajo pacientu iz psihoze ven,
so that they can be reasoned with.
da se lahko z njim pogovarjaš razumno.
Now, if we're talking about medication for like depression and anxiety,
Ko govorimo o zdravilih antidepresivih in tista proti anksioznosti,
our feelings or our emotions
naša čustva
are based in chemistry.
so utemeljene na kemikalijah.
Your emotions are the
Chemie.
result of chemicals that are produced.
Kemikalije proizvajajo vaše čustva.
And so I can change how you feel
Jaz lahko spremenim vaše počutje,
by giving you certain substances,
če vam dam določena sredstva.
right? So I can inject you with certain chemicals
Dam vam lahko, ubrizgam vam lahko neko kemikalijo
and I can make you feel a certain way.
in se boste počutili tako, kot hočem.
But I cannot inject you with any chemical
Ampak vam ne morem dati nobene kemikalije,
that gives you a certain thought,
da povzročim neko vašo misel.
right? So the thoughts are not based in chemistry,
Misli niso kemične narave,
but the emotions and the feelings are.
čustva pa so.
And so the medication can change how an individual feels.
Zdravljenje, zdravili lahko spremeni čustva.
And if an individual is feeling very depressed or hopeless,
Če je kdo brez upa, depresiven,
or very fearful and anxious,
ali v strahu, anksioznosti,
then the medication can change how they feel.
potem se zdravili lahko pomaga do spremembe razpoloženja.
And since most people are accustomed to thinking in harmony with how they feel,
In ker mnogi premišljujejo v povezavi s tem, kako se počutijo,
then when I feel better,
ko se boljše počutim,
I tend to think better.
Sem v situaciji, da bolje premišljujem.
Because we typically submit our thoughts to our feelings.
Ker mi nekako podrejemo svoje misli čustvom.
Now, thoughts always come before feelings.
Misli vedno so najprej, potem pa pridejo čustva.
Because it's the thoughts that lead to the generation of the chemicals
ker misli izzivajo proizvodnjo kemikalij,
that then result in the feelings.
katerih rezultat so čustva.
But we can become so accustomed to just thinking how we feel
Mi se lahko zelo navadimo na čustva, na mišljenje povezano s čustvi,
that I seem to be a slave to my feelings.
da se zdi, da smo sužnji čustvom.
So in that case, the medication can help.
V tem smislu medikamenti pomagajo.
But the medication that keeps me from going so low
Ampak tista zdravila, ki mi pomagajo, da se ne spustim prenizko,
is the same medication that keeps me from going so high.
so ista zdravila, ki mi pomagajo, ki me preprečujejo, da grem višje, kot je treba.
So on the antidepressant, I don't feel so bad
Z depresivi se ne počutim tako slabo,
but I also don't feel so good.
ampak se niti ne morem počutiti zelo dobro.
Kind of stuck in the middle.
Nekje v sredini sem se ustavil.
I'm not depressed,
Jaz nisem v depresiji,
but I'm not excited either.
nisem niti dobrega razpoloženja.
I'm just kind of there, right?
Živim.
So, if somebody is on the antidepressants or the
Če kdo uporablja
anti-anxiety
antidepresive,
medication,
Sorry.
or the anti-anxiety
In
medication,
tistih zdravil, ki pomagajo proti anksioznosti,
then what I want to do
jaz bi
teach them how to think,
jih naučil, kako razmišljati.
regardless of how they feel.
Ne glede na čustva.
I want to teach them how to choose their thoughts
Rad jih naučim, kako izbirajo misli,
independent of how they feel.
ne glede na to, kako se zdaj počutijo.
And if I can help an individual to think
Če mu lahko pomagam,
and not be a slave to their feelings,
da ni sužen občutkom in kljub temu premišljuje,
then what we can do is we can decrease their medication.
v tem smislu lahko zmanjšamo njihova zdravila, količino.
And when they start, instead of being stuck here,
In torej oni končajo ne, da bi bili v sredini nekje, da ne čutijo ne gor ni dol.
and now it opens up,
Zdaj se lahko odpre,
now they can go farther down,
lahko bi šli tudi dol,
but they also can go farther up.
ampak lahko se povzpnejo.
If they know how to think, regardless of how they feel,
Če se naučijo misliti ne glede na čustva
even
trenutno.
though they start feeling worse when the medication starts going
Čeprav
down,
se začnejo najprej počutijo slabše, zato ker smo jim zmanjšali zdravila,
they can continue to think well,
oni naprej mislijo pravilno
and they'll be able to do well through the taper of the medication.
in v tem pomanjkanju zdravil bodo ustrajali lahko zaradi mišljenja.
And can continue to do well long term
In potem dolgoročno jim je dobro.
without having to go on the medication again.
Ne da bi bili prisiljeni uporabljati zdravila.
But if they don't learn how to think, regardless
Če
of
pa
how
se
they
ne
feel,
naučijo misliti, kar je treba, ne glede na počutje,
then when you decrease the medication,
ko zmanjšaš zdravila,
they start feeling worse,
se začnejo slabo počutiti,
then they start thinking worse,
potem slabe misli pridejo in se v spirali poslabša stvar.
right? Yeah. Yes,
Kaj pa bi rekli o genskih boleznih?
right. So if it's a genetic issue or an inheritance issue,
Če je stvar dedna
and the inheritance affects the types of chemicals or it would have to be types, not amounts, but anyways, if they affect the types of chemicals that can or cannot be produced,
če genetika določa, katere kemikalije lahko ali ne morete proizvesti,
then it will be something that is there from the time the child is born.
to bo navzoče od rojstva.
You'll see it from baby,
To boste videli
Growing up.
od dojenčka,
and it's something where they can survive. You'll see it throughout their lifetime.
in če preživijo, če je to taka stvar, da lahko preživijo dlje, to se jih bo držalo do konca.
And it won't be something that goes better and then worse and then better
To
and
se ne
then
bo
worse,
spreminjalo, malo je boljše, malo je slabše,
because the genes are there,
ker so geni takšni in so tam.
right? And so, yes, there can be genetic factors,
Obstajajo genski faktorji,
but you'll see them from little,
jih boste ugotovili od otroštva
and they'll be relatively constant.
in bodo relativno stalni.
But if you see that they had a phase where they were normal
Če pa ugotovite, da je neka faza, v kateri je vse normalno,
and now they crash,
in prej je bilo normalno in zdaj se poslabša,
or you see that their symptoms get better and then worse and then
ali da se
better, and then,
spreminja, da oscilira, da je včasih boljše, včasih slabše,
right? Then that's not inheritance.
potem ne gre za dednost.
It could be chemical exposure,
Lahko je izpostavljenost kemikalijam,
but you should be able to correlate
ampak bi morali biti v stanju povezati
the effects
vzrok
with the diet.
s prehrano.
So every time I eat this,
Če pojem to in to,
8 hours or so later, I start having this,
8 ur potem bom začutil to.
right? So there should be some kind of correlation that you can find, that you can discover from that.
Vi bi morali biti v stanju najti povezavo med A in B.
And if it doesn't meet those patterns,
Če ne gre za takšno strukturo, vzorec,
it's going to be the mind.
Bo šlo za
Right?
But what can we do about it exactly? There is a reason genetic disease.
Okay. So if
Kaj lahko
there,
naredimo, če je
Right.
res bolezen genetska?
so if it's an inherited condition,
Če je to situacija, ki smo jo podedovali,
humanly speaking,
človeško govoreč,
we don't have a solution for it,
nimamo rešitve.
right? But
Vendar,
he created the genes,
on je ustvaril gene.
right? And he can also fix genetic issues.
On lahko zdravi tudi podedovanje oziroma genske zadeve.
For the one who created them in the first place,
Za njega, ki je ustvaril zadevo v začetku,
it's not a problem to fix them,
ni težava, da jih popravi.
right? So people ask me, is there hope?
Ljudje vprašajo mene, ali je upanje.
And my question is, are you alive?
Moje vprašanje je, ali ste živi,
Is God alive?
ali je Bog živ.
And if the answer is to both is yes,
Če je obakrat pritrdili na dogovor,
then absolutely there's hope,
potem absolutno je upanje.
right? But when it comes to human ability and human technology,
Ko gre
or
za sposobnost človeka in tehnologije,
right, we don't have a solution for a truly inherited condition.
nimamo, torej ljudje nimamo prave rešitve za podedovane zadeve.
Because the defect exists in every cell of the body,
Ker je ta pomanjkljivost v vsaki celici.
right? Unless it's certain cell type where you can wipe it out,
Razen če obstaja v nekaterih v celicah določenega tipa, ki jih lahko izbrišete,
and you could take a transplant from another individual that
In-
doesn't have the problem,
in potem dobite transplant tkiva nekoga drugega, ki nima te težave.
and you don't reject the transplant.
In vaše telo ne zavrže transplant.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Jaz bi prosila samo, če nam razloži kaj več za težave s ščitnico, bolane ščitnice ali tako.
What can be said about diseases, thyroid?
Thyroid, yes. So thyroid disease, I find, is often associated with some conflict.
Jaz ugotavljam, da se težave s ščitnico pojavljajo v primerih spopadov.
Right? And then I ask the question, all right, is it the left thyroid? Is it the right thyroid?
Vprašam, ali je leva ali desna stran,
Is it both evenly?
ali je na obeh straneh približno enako,
Are there nodules in the thyroid?
ali so vozlički.
All right. If it's an even issue of the thyroid,
Če je razporejeno enako,
then one of my first questions is, what about iodine?
potem vprašam, kako je z jodom.
Right? Because you can have thyroid dysfunction because of iodine deficiency,
Lahko imate težave s ščitnico, če imate pomanjkanje joda.
and that's a simple one. You supplement with iodine, and
To je
the function
preprosto.
recovers.
Pač začnete imati jod in se stvari popravijo.
Right? But if it's uneven,
Če pa ni enakomerno razporejeno,
one side versus another side,
ena stran ali druga stran,
or there's nodules in there,
ali so tam neki vozlički,
then I know it's not just a chemical issue.
potem vem, da ne gre samo za kemikalije.
Now, yeah, chemicals can be involved,
Lahko so kemikalije tudi v enačbi.
but if it's just a chemical issue, it should be pretty even throughout the thyroid,
Če bi bilo kemično izzvano, potem bi moralo biti povsod enako razporejeno.
right? And if you had normal function before and then you have abnormal function,
Če ste imeli prej normalno delovanje ščitnice, potem se je pojavilo nenormalno,
then it's not inheritance.
potem ni stvar dednosti.
And really, we come back to the mind.
In se spet vrnemo do uma.
And when it's the mind issues,
Ko gre za
we're often talking about some kind of conflict.
govorimo o težavah, ki se pojavijo zaradi konflikta.
No, it's not the only thing,
To ni edina stvar,
but I find that it's fairly strong or fairly prominent in thyroid disease.
prav izpostavljeno je pri bolezni ščitnice, so spopadi, kar se tiče uma, precej visoko.
You know, and if the nodules are on the right side,
Če so vozlički na desni
or the
strani
enlargement is on the right
ali
side,
povečanje na desni strani,
and then my questions in relation to mother and spouse and lovers.
potem je moje vprašanje, kaj se dogaja z materjo, zakoncem ali ljubimcem.
Right? If it's both sides, if it's the left side,
Ako je leva, če je leva,
then my question is father,
vprašam
siblings,
po očetu,
children,
sestrah in bratih,
right?
otrocih.
Right? And if it's pretty even both sides,
Če je približno tu levo in desno enako,
again, is it a chemical?
ali gre za kemikalije,
Let's check those first,
najprej to preverimo.
right? If the chemicals look fine,
Če se zdi, da je vse v redu tam,
after blood work and so on,
ko dobimo krvne izvide,
then okay, what's going on with your mother and your father?
potem se vpraša, če je enako, kaj se je zgodilo v odnosu do matere in očeta,
Your spouse and your children,
vaše otroke in zakonca.
right? And so on. And then work through those.
In potem delujemo tam.
Now, the most common thyroid disease is Hashimoto's,
Najbolj navadna bolezen ščitnice je Hashimotova.
and it's actually an autoimmune condition
To je pravzaprav avtoimunska zadeva,
where there's an immune attack on the thyroid,
ker je napad telesa na ščitnico
causing it to decrease its function.
in zmanjšuje proizvodnjo pač
Now, in the
hormonov.
early phases of it, it can increase the thyroid function,
V zgodnjem obdobju to lahko povzroči povečanje funkcijo,
but then it results in decreasing the thyroid function.
potem pa zmanjšuje delovanje ščitnice.
And in counseling with individuals with Hashimoto's,
Ko sem v posvetovanju z ljudmi, ki imajo Hashimotovo bolezen,
you can very much see a correlation between how much antibodies are being produced
boste videli povezavo med številom antiteles
and what's going on with the resentment in this relationship,
in kaj se dogaja s sovražnostjo v teh odnosih.
right? I've had I've worked with patients, and
Delal sem s
you
pacienti,
see how they're doing in their thoughts and in their relationships with certain
vidite, kako
individuals,
delujejo v zvezi z mislimi in tudi z nekaterimi
And
od
that-
teh
and that-
odnosov.
and then you get antibody levels,
Potem dobite izvid, ki pokaže, koliko antiteles je.
and you can see how the antibody levels track or follow how the thought processes are going.
In točno vidite, kako raven antiteles spremljajo miselne vzorce oziroma zgodovino bolezni ali pa zgodovino odnosa.
So it's very interesting.
Zelo zanimivo.
Right? So, yeah, those need to be dealt with.
Z vsem temi stvarmi se je treba ukvarjati.
And if the thyroid function is low,
Če je funkcija ščitnice manjša, znižana,
why not take some extra iodine?
zakaj ne bi vzeli nekaj dodatnega joda?
Right? And if it's too high,
Če je previsoka,
why not don't use any iodine?
zakaj ne bi zmanjšali vnos joda?
Right? And then you go from there.
In od tod se gre naprej.
Right?
Like we saw in all that you were talking about, many problems, almost all, are the problems front of the mind, no, and of the conflicts, like you were talking now. But we almost all know this, that many our diseases are from
Kako ste
there.
govorili,
But the
gre
problem
za
is that
stvari,
many times we can't
ki so povezane z
leave
umom.
a job because we
In
are
to je tudi nam jasno.
not independent, or we can't leave
Ampak če
our
je stvar
family, no,
povezana
because
recimo
we don't know how to
službo
live,
in
or
ne
we
moremo
have some
oditi
neighbors.
kar
So
in zamenjati stvari.
then we must, and also we can't solve it with talking. So in many
In
cases
ne moremo
we don't
mnogokrat
have much to do, like to
rešiti ali pa
suffer
karkoli
at
sploh
least
narediti, ampak moramo
that
prenašati.
period, no, that we must be at that place. So
Tam smo in
what
nismo,
can we do
ne
in
moremo
these
nič.
circumstances?
Yes, well,
Kaj lahko
if,
naredimo
if
takrat?
my solution requires somebody else to change how they behave or act or something like that,
Če se rešitev nanaša na še koga drugega, da je treba tam delovati,
oh yeah, sorry. If you would translate that for the others because they didn't hear
ja.
the yeah.
Vprašanje je bilo, kaj lahko naredimo. Ugotovili smo, da je večina stvari povezana z možgansko oziroma umsko dejavnostjo, ampak so stvari, od katerih ne moremo pobegniti, ker če smo recimo v službi in imamo spopade in ne moremo si privoščiti, da bi šli iz službe, moramo prenašati stvari.
Right. So if the solution requires somebody else to change,
Če rešitev vidimo v tem, da se nekdo drug spremeni,
then it's not the solution.
potem to ni rešitev.
So if there's an issue
Če obstaja zadeva,
that is causing the problem,
ki povzroča problem,
then it must be an internal issue.
potem to mora biti notranja zadeva.
Yes, it can be associated with something going on externally.
Lahko je povezana z nečem ali nekom, ki je drugi.
Like I can develop a problem because my wife is cheating on me.
Lahko imam jaz težave, zato ker ima žena mene vara.
But what needs to be fixed is not my wife cheating on me.
Ampak ni rešitev v tem, da me neha žena varati,
But how I think of it,
ampak kaj jaz mislim o tem.
right? What is my perspective on the issue?
Kako jaz gledam na to zadevo.
Because her cheating cannot cause my disease.
Njeno življenje ne more meni povzročati bolezni.
It's only my thinking that can cause the
Moje
disease.
misli lahko povzročijo mojo bolezen.
And so there must be something in my thinking that is dysfunctional,
Torej, nekaj mora biti v mojih mislih, kar ne funkcionira dobro.
even though her infidelity is very dysfunctional,
Čeprav je tudi nezvestoba zelo nefunkcionalna,
right?
disfunkcionalna.
And so it's looking for, okay, what is dysfunctional in my own perspective in relation to her problem?
Torej, jaz se moram vprašati, kaj je v mojih mislih nepravilno v povezavi s tem, kar se dogaja tam.
And with me and God,
Med mano in Bogom,
we can resolve that issue in my thinking,
Bog lahko torej naredi spremembo v mojih mislih,
whether she ever becomes faithful or not.
če bo ona še kdaj zvesta ali ne.
And therefore, I don't need others to be fixed in order for me to be whole or well.
Torej, ne rabim čakati, da se popravijo drugi, da bi jaz bil zdrav.
It's I who needs to be whole or well,
Jaz moram biti, če hočem biti zdrav,
regardless of what happens around me.
jaz hočem biti zdrav in moram biti zdrav ne glede na to, kar drugi delajo.
And the only solution that will really set me free
Edina rešitev, ki me bo osvobodila,
is a solution that will set me free even if nothing around me changes.
je tisto, kar bo spremenilo mene, ne glede na to, da se nič ne bo spremenilo okoli mene.
Because if I must have what's around me change in order for me to be free,
Če se da bi jaz bil svoboden, moram zamenjati vse, kar je okoli,
then I can never be free because I'm a slave to what's around me.
potem ne morem nikoli biti svoboden, ker sem sužen sem okoli sebe.
Right? And so, yeah, that's where we look, you know.
Tja gledamo.
If my children are not behaving
Če se moji otroci ne obnašajo pravilno
and I'm upset,
in se jaz razburjam,
I can't fix that by changing how they behave.
ne morem to spremeniti s spremembo njihovega obnašanja.
I have to look at what is causing me to be upset.
Moram pogledati, kaj je vzrok, da sem jaz vznemirjen.
How am I perceiving it
kako jaz gledam na stvari,
in a way that's causing me to be upset or frustrated?
in to povzroča, da sem jaz v frustraciji in tako naprej.
And how can I look at it in a way that I won't be frustrated or upset for myself,
In kako lahko gledam na stvari, da ne bi bil zafrustriran,
where I am not under pressure,
ko nisem pod pritiskom.
and now from a position of no pressure,
In zdaj iz te pozicije, ko nisem pod pritiskom,
now I can deal with their behavior
lahko se ukvarjam z njihovim obnašanjem
and not put them under pressure as well.
in jih ne izpostavljam pritisku.
Right? So, yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Najlepša hvala.
It's been a pleasure.
Bilo je veselje z vami.
I'm so glad I got to come here and meet you all.
Prav veseli me, da mi je uspelo priti sem in vas srečati.
And now the family is larger.
Zdaj je družina širša.
Right?
Yes.
So thank you for being a part of my life this week.
Hvala, da ste bili del mojega življenja v tem tednu.
And you will be on my heart.
Boste v mojem srcu.
And I'm looking forward to hearing in the future how things are going.
Z zanimanjem bom slišal, kako se stvari odvijajo v prihodnosti tukaj.
And the freedom that you're continuing to experience.
In tudi zanimala me bo svoboda, ki jo boste doživljali v prihodnosti.
So go have a good rest
Lepo se spočijte
and a good new week.
in imejte lep novi teden.
Right? And God's blessings go with you.
Naj bo Božji blagoslov z vami.
Thank you.